Hey guys, it's Anthony B here, and I'm here to ask a bunch of questions to John, aka Detox,
Detox is dead. I killed him.
whatever his channel is now, the name because he changes it so much. But we'll call him the Mr.
Ugh.
King. Okay. Anyway, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Having a good time.
Awesome, awesome. All right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to ask uh 20 questions.
You ask as many as you want.
Okay. We're ask a bunch of questions to John and, just do a little interview for fun.
This is going to
So,
be the proper follow-up to that Q&A I did October? I don't remember when I did it.
yeah, I meant to do that, ask questions for that.
That's fine. This
But
this works even better.
yeah,
All right,
all right.
you ask away.
All right. First question I always wanted to ask you. And honestly, I don't really ask this question a whole lot because uh, it's kind of like one that it's like because the people who I asked who say these people who they met were jerks are usually people I like. But you know what? I'm gonna ask you just cause, and I'm ready for to hear. But who were the nicest celebrities slash musicians you met in real life, and who were the biggest jerks?
Um so the nicest people uh trying to think. Des from Coal Chamber / Devil
Okay.
Driver. Um who did I meet? Oh, the Goat Whore vocalist it's Ben, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm. Ben Falcon.
Uh Trying to think of who else I met who was nice. Oh, so this is a side tangent briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Um many years ago, I saw this band or I saw a triple header of American Head Charge, Head Pea and Mushroom Head. And before the show, a friend of mine did a bunch of mushrooms. And so before we went into the venue, because that's how he rolled. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. We'll just keep an eye on you. So American Head Charge, he was into it. And he's like, yeah, it's great, great, great. Head P, he was like, is kind of out of it. Mushroom Head, he is just standing there against the like the back wall, just standing there. And but like he's fine, so we're just like whatever. We'll guide him to the car when we need to. And I'm standing there watching Mushroom Head, and somebody nudges me on my shoulder, and I look over, and this guy looks at me, giant mohawk, and he goes, "Hey, is your buddy okay?" And I was like, "He's just really high. He's fine." He's like, "Oh, cool, cool. Tell him to stay safe." No, okay, thanks. It was the singer of Head PE.
Really?
Yep. I was like, the guy was Jared. So yeah, that was a cool experience. I bumped knuckles with the Union Underground vocalist. That wasn't that much of an interaction. Uh, and I met all the members of Monster Magnet circa 2002.
Okay.
We went backstage, which is still to this day the only time I've ever been backstage to meet a band.
Mm-hmm.
And they immediately rushed the vocalist away. Like I got my copy of God Says No autographed by all the members, but they like whoever his PR person was like took him and rushed him away. So he didn't hang out with us. The rest of the band did.
Mm-hmm.
Um and my mom took a shot with the two guitarists. And then like they just poured her a shot and she took the shot like because she was with us. And
Uh-huh.
me and my brother were underage. Like he was way underage, but I was still I was probably 2002 18 at this time.
Mm-hmm.
um and so we met them, and we got to hang out backstage and chill with them and talk to them for like 25-30 minutes, and they were super nice, and all of them are great. Ed, one of the best guitar players I've ever heard.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we left the venue and my mom looked at us and was like, what I just did backstage where they gave me a drink and I drank it, don't ever do that. And I was like, oh, okay. They're like, you never know what people she was like, they were very nice young men, but not all people are. I was like, oh, okay.
I never heard about that story. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, my mom thought some of the members of Monster Magnet were hot, but they were like 20 years younger than her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are off the top of my head the nice ones. I'm sure I'm missing some.
Mhm.
Um, rude ones. Um, MC Chris was a dick. Uh, the thing is, I really liked him at a time. Like I saw him live, and his live set was also disappointing because I didn't realize it was literally just him and some guy off to the side playing on a freaking laptop. And I was like, well, this is disappointing. But yeah, but then I met him at the merch stand, and he was just like very like, "Are you gonna buy something? What do you want?" I was like, "Oh, that's not very nice." And I met the Twisted Method vocalist, and probably didn't help the fact that I wasn't a girl. Um, so he had like two or three girls like hanging all over him,
Oh, of
and
course.
I had walked over and I had said, "Hey, I thought you guys were awesome. I thought you guys played really well." And he just kind of was like, "Yeah, thanks," and then just kind of wandered off with the girls. And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, in at least in that regard, I kind of get it, but still be somewhat nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I've yet to meet a jerk in person. I met a couple people over the years. Uh, but yeah, okay. What would you say? Okay, this is kind of going on to two more questions, but
Okay.
what was the best new metal concert you have ever been to? And what was the worst new metal concert you ever went to?
One of the Ozfests. 2001.
Okay.
Because that was which in coincidentally was my first concert ever. Um, I had wanted to go to shows beforehand, but my mom was always like, "No, no, we're not gonna. You can't go to shows by yourself." And then she finally relented because this was 2001. She had finally given up the pushing away of me liking Manson and stuff like that. So she's like, "All right, Ozfest, Manson's on it. There's a bunch of bands on it that you want to see. We'll get venue tickets. We'll go inside. We'll go." I was like, okay. I found out later that I had a friend who worked security at the venue, and she tried relentlessly to get me backstage so I could meet Manson.
Mhm.
She could not.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was my first one because those were the first bands I ever saw live, and technically, Beautiful Creatures is the first live band I ever saw because they were opening the third stage that day, and they were the first band. So yeah, I saw Beautiful Creatures. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of bands I missed. I didn't
Mhm.
see Spineshank, I didn't see Mudvayne, and I didn't see Drowning Pool, and I didn't see American Head Charge. So I missed all those bands. I rectified most of those later. I still never saw Spineshank, and I've still never seen Mudvayne. Um, but yeah, but I saw let's see, I saw Taproot, I saw Nonpoint, Union Underground, who I was in love with at the time. I'm trying to think of who else I saw. It might have been at this point. We might have wandered to the main stage, and I got to see Crazy Town, who I didn't like at the time. I like him now, but at the time I was like, because beautiful Butterfly was all over the radio, and I was like, bleh, it's gross.
Were they booed at your date?
I think so.
Mm.
I know that was like the bathroom break for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Um, and what was weird was that was when Ozfest, when the main stage started, the second stage wasn't done. So when we went inside to the main stage that's how I missed Drowning Pool and Mudvayne, was because when Black Label Society opened the main stage,
Mhm.
those two bands were still playing. But I got to see after Crazy Town, after we went to go get food during Crazy Town, I saw Disturbed, Papa Roach, Linkin Park, Slipknot, and then Manson. And then we stayed for 4 Aussie songs and then left because it was like 11:30 at night, and we'd been there since 8 a.m. But yeah, so that was a great experience. There's been other new metal shows that were good. A bad one. So there's a couple here. I saw Soil without Ryan when they had the other vocalist, and they were bad. And it was mostly the vocalist. And what was rather embarrassing was that the opening band, Brand New Sin, was actually pretty good. And they brought the vocalist of Brand New Sin out to do Halo. And the Brand New Sin vocalist blew the Soil vocalist away.
Really?
Like, why would you bring out a singer who's better than you? That seems like a bad idea.
I know.
I also, I'm trying to think of who else. Wasn't their fault, but I saw Il Nino during the anniversary tour of Revolution, and their sound was god awful. So every single song sounded the exact same, and we left before they finished. Had a bad experience with OTEP, where I saw them play with Blood Simple and A New Revolution. And of that show, Blood Simple was the good band. A New Revolution, I still to this day think is underwhelming. And because I loved Unloco, A New Revolution's and OTEP, that was during House of Secrets, and I did not like House of Secrets. I still don't like House of Secrets. But yeah, that's all I'm thinking of off the top of my head. I'm sure there were other bad experiences, but collective shows, probably that OTEP one.
All right. Now, what was one of the better show? Okay. Best show you ever went to, period. Doesn't matter if it was what band it was, and what would you say is your least favorite show you ever went to?
Least favorite show. Just for the bands were really good, but just for the experience, this year's Maryland Death Fest, that was a trip, literally and figuratively, because I had to drive 8 hours to get there. But yeah, that was an experience. It's also the first multi-day festival I ever went to. It was 4 days, me waking up, walking to the venues, walking between the venues, that was fun. I got a lot of exercise. And then just seeing I really wish, the only complaint I had about that festival was I wish there was a bit more variety, because I love death metal, and there was a sprinkling of thrash and black metal, but there wasn't enough. There should have been. I wish it was like a Download or something like that, or Wacken, where it was a big variety of extreme bands. But yeah, that was probably my favorite concert experience. Ozfest 01 is the most nostalgic, but that one is my favorite to date. And if I do it again, it won't be immediately, because that wore me out. Worst. Oh, I know what it was. If only I could remember what bands played. So it was a Summer Slaughter tour. I know Dying Fetus was on it. Necrophagist. I think if I remember right, the opening band was the only one that was kind of good. Obscura, I think, played too, but I don't like deathcore, and I don't like technical death metal. It rubs me the wrong way when there's 5,000 riffs going at a blazing speed. I don't like it. I need, I like older death metal because is guttural and like heavy as it is, there's a catchiness to it there that they lost in like 2008 when all this they were like, what if we all copy Gorguts? What was the Gorguts album? It might be Obscura from Gorguts, where they were like, what if we just go blazing fast all the time and just riffs all over the place? And then all these bands in the mid 2000s were like, what if we do that? I was like, ugh, I hate this. But yeah, so it was a show packed with that, and it was bad. Hated it. I've rarely had an experience at a concert where I was like, wow, I did not have a good time at all. Usually there's some redemption, but even the people I went with were like, wow, this was a bad idea. This was not fun. But yeah, so those are my two answers for those.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. What would be, if you were to take 4 musicians in new/alternative/industrial metal, dead or alive, it would be a supergroup. 4 members. Which 4 members would it be? They could either be dead or alive, like I said.
Let me think. Trying to think of who would do what I wanted. This is actually difficult, and I know I've answered questions like this before. Like anytime it pops up on like Reddit or Facebook, it's like, who's your super group? Like, okay. Let's start with vocalist. Vocalist, I want Trent Reznor.
Okay.
Guitarist. Wait, you said I have to stick within new alternative industrial?
Sure.
Okay. Guitarist. Who's the best guitarist out of that bunch? Okay. All right. So Trent Reznor. I want to put. He counts as industrial. I want Devin Townsend to be the guitarist.
Okay.
I want. What's his freaking name? I want Ryan from Mudvayne to be the bassist.
Okay. Interesting.
And I need a drummer to complement it. Oof. Who do I want as a drummer? The Atom Ship drummer. Oh my god, what is his name? Chad. I think it's Chad Kent.
Okay.
That's the group I want. And honorable 5th member, I want the Stabbing Westward keyboardist, whose name is escaping me at the moment.
Okay.
Walter something, I think.
All right.
That's my group. Like, I think it would be very heavy, but also have a strong sense of melody. It would also be weird. And
yeah,
it'd be in that weird pocket of being technical but catchy. And I think they could pull it off. And then Trent can whine and yell over the top of it. That's what I want.
Right. So you mentioned in one of your collection videos, or no, it was one of your old update videos, that you have a movie collection, I heard.
Yep.
Like a small movie collection. Are you a big fan of movies? Like, do you like movies in general?
Yes. Yeah, I for the longest time I didn't really have physical like DVDs and stuff like that. When I was growing up, we had a lot of blank VHS tapes that we recorded movies off of on TV. Like, my dad was a big movie guy and a big book guy, so I got a lot of that from him. But when he passed, I did like he had a pretty big DVD collection, so I
Mhm.
ended up getting it. So minus all the Western movies, I gave all the Western movies away because I Westerns are fine, but I was brought up on Westerns. I've seen all those movies a bunch of times. I'm good. I don't need to see them ever again. Um, but yeah, no, I do really like movies. As I've gotten older though, it's weird in the fact that like it's hard for me to get myself to sit down and sit still for an entire movie unless I have like company. Like I get fidgety. So there's a lot of times where I'll watch a movie in like 3 sittings or 3 like I'll watch a movie for like say it's a 90-minute movie. I'll watch half an hour of the movie. I'll pause it. I'll get up. I'll walk around. I'll do something. Come back. Watch half an hour more. Get up. Do the dishes. Have food. Something like that. Come back. Watch the last. I did it with. I saw a movie called Troll last night. That's on Netflix. Came out this year, and it was. It wasn't in. It was in Norwegian. I think it was good, but
Mhm.
I watched it in two chunks because
Mhm.
I midway. It wasn't. It's not even getting bored of the movie. It's like just how my brain works. I'm restless. But no, I am, despite all that, I am a big movie fan. I have some movies that I've seen a lot of times, um, more times than needed, and for movies that I didn't need to see that many times, but it happened.
What are some of your favorite movies?
Um, I love bad '90s action movies a lot, but I
Okay.
also like darker movies that are kind of partially made fun of, but also kind of loved.
Mhm.
So Mike, and I also like dumb comedies. So this
Mhm.
is going to be an interesting collection. So I really like the first Crow movie. I really like Dark City. I
Mhm.
really like Independence Day, Escape from LA, Volcano, Demolition Man, Zoolander, Kung Pao, uh and then I like big there's certain like superhero movies I really like. I love The Dark Knight.
Mhm.
I love Spider-Man 2. Um I loved Iron Man 2. But yeah, there's a bunch like a cluster. And there's also like movies that like I saw a lot as a kid where they're not amazing, but they mean something important to me. Like I've seen Twister probably 80 or 90 times. Um, just because I had it as a kid and I love that movie. Same with Independence Day, and same with the second Mighty Ducks movie.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And I also like if I find a movie that's like super there's certain movies that are like super upsetting to me. And so I will only pull them out every once in a while.
Mhm.
Homeward Bound is I am a mess by the end of that movie.
Oh yeah.
Um Crash was another one, the one where it's all the different converging stories. Like that one that one makes me super upset. Trying to think of some other ones. Uh Million Dollar Baby was rough.
Mhm.
Uh and there's other movies that I've watched and like they've affected me, and I haven't been able to rewatch them even though like I still think of parts of them. American History X is whew, that is a movie.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a handful like that like they stuck with me. But yeah, those are some of my favorites.
Very cool. Very cool. Uh. Okay.
Oh, and Alien, the first one.
Of course. All right. What are your some? Okay. What are some of your favorite video game consoles?
PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, regular Nintendo. I do love my PS4. Um, and kind of because of how much time I spent with it, even though like I couldn't tell you more than 10 games that I really played on it. The Game Boy Color was super important to me for a while because I loved the Pokemon games. I liked the early Duke Nukem games pre 3D, which I love Duke Nukem 3D, but like the early platformers, Duke Nukem 1 and 2, I really liked those, despite the fact they're stupid hard. And the early Mario Land games and some of the Game Boy Zelda games and the weird Game Boy Mega Man games. Like so yeah, so those, but yeah, the other consoles like PS2 might be one of my PS2 or Xbox 360 are my favorite consoles.
Okay.
Regular Nintendo is super nostalgic and some of my favorite games ever are on it. But I completely understand going back to that is sometimes not super fun. But there are still certain games I will play here and there that are on that console. So those are my favorites.
All right. Now, what are some of your favorite video games in general? Any console.
All right, let's see here. I gotta steady my brain here. Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill
Okay.
1, Resident Evil 2, Final Fantasy 7. The remake is also really good. Final Fantasy 9, Star Ocean 2, sorry. Tecmo Super Bowl, Base Wars, Super Mario 3. I'm looking at my video game wall. I had a ludicrous amount of fun with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the older one. Halo 3 or Halo 2 or 3. I can either one. Duke Nukem 3D. Trying to wrap my brain. Newer ones I've been heavily into Death Stranding and Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. And Dark Souls 3 was super hard, but it was fun. Days Gone was good. The Arkham games are amazing. Although Knight is the least interesting of the four. I'm trying to think. I know there's a crap ton I'm forgetting. GTA 5 was outstanding. Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 was outstanding. The newer Spider-Man game from like 2018 was ridiculously good. Portal 2, super fun and super funny. Rare do I find comedy games really good, but like that one's super engaging. Big fan of the Fallout games. Loved 3 and 4. New Vegas, I still need to beat. I get crap for that all the time. Evil Within 2 is excellent, even though the first one's kind of not very good. Dead Space 1 and 2. And probably 100 others, but that's what's coming to me right now.
Right on. All those are, well, I played some of those. I haven't played all of them, but I need to get onto it. All right.
I have a list on my one of my website pages on Rate Your Music that keeps track of all the video games I've ever beaten, and I'm nearing 150.
Okay.
So we're getting there, but there's also probably like 200 or 300 games that I've made halfway through and just kind of stopped playing.
Okay.
I'm a bad gamer.
I know you answered this question in a video, but I don't think you really answered like the specific part. Okay. The question was, what was the most expensive CD in your collection? But you said in the video it was a record. But if you were to say the most expensive CD in your collection, that you bought, what would it be?
I'm trying to think. So it's one of two, and I'm trying to think of how much they cost. I don't think I've gone over. No, I haven't gone over $50 for an album, I don't think. So it's either Head P's Church of Realities, which I've turned around and sold.
Really?
Yeah, I sold it earlier this year at some point. Yeah,
Oh,
I had sold off a few of my albums for reasons. Um but yeah, so I think Church of Realities I got for 50. And I know Gary Newman's Sacrifice was also in that range because it's the record label sucked and it was out of print. But I wanted to have it, so I did. But yeah, they were both within the 40 to 50 range.
okay.
And I feel there's a third album that's in that range too, but I'm not remembering what it was.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've never gone above 50 for an album, minus shipping or whatever.
Right on. Right on. Uh,
Though I did look at American Head Charge's Trepanation when it was $70. For a second, I thought about it.
oh yeah. All right. Okay. I know you're probably not much of a guy who watches a lot of TV shows, but is there any that you particularly enjoy?
Oh boy. No, I hate TV. Okay, so currently or just all time?
All time.
So my favorite TV show of all time is Fringe.
Fringe.
Mm-hmm. And to no shock whatsoever, second is X-Files. Um, I've never been much of a sitcom person, but I like some of the shows that are almost sitcoms. Like I really like Scrubs, I really like The Office, and I really liked 30 Rock.
Mhm.
And what's the one with Parks and Rec? That one was really good too.
Okay.
I think the closest I came to liking an actual sitcom was Cougar Town. I thought that was very funny.
Okay.
But yeah, those shows I already mentioned. Burn Notice I really liked. Heroes was good up until the last couple of seasons, and I can probably say the same thing about Lost. Frasier was really good. Beavis and Butthead was good.
Mhm.
Daria was really good.
Mhm.
Simpsons is excellent from seasons 2 to 10. Futurama's good. South Park was good for a while. I don't care about it now. The Kevin Bacon one. What was that with the serial killer? The Following. That one was really good. That one got brutal for a little while, and it was on Fox. I was like, Fox is airing this? Jesus. Yeah, those. I was fully on board for Game of Thrones up until the last season, and then it was kind of.
My friend said the same thing.
I just finished The Walking Dead.
Oh, really?
I made it all the way through. I've been keeping up with it kind of. I would occasionally let like a season or two lapse, and then I would binge it. But yeah, it just finished, and so I finally watched it, and I was like, all right, it's cool, it's over. And then the post credits came, and it was like, we're doing 3 new spin-offs, and we're keeping Fear the Walking Dead going. I'm like, God fucking damn it. I don't want to. Done. But yeah, I'm trying to look at my wall. Within the last year, I finally watched Twin Peaks, and I saw the first season. And I thought it was very interesting, and then I made it halfway through the second season, and I just stopped watching it.
Okay.
Oh, and The firefighter one with Dennis Leary. What was that freaking called? Rescue Me. That one I really liked too. But
All right.
yeah, that's me and TV.
Right on. Right on.
Currently, there are now that Walking Dead's over, I guess I'm not watching anything.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. So another thing I wanted to ask you also is kind of going out of context, but
Mm.
I noticed like you're looking at your old videos, like I want to know like what was the very first like was the very first YouTube video you ever did was the football video, or did you have
No,
older videos?
no. There actually was a old YouTube channel that is gone. That it didn't really have. I'm trying to dig through my memory here. I know there wasn't. I don't think I had done Let's Plays yet. Mostly because I don't think I knew how. At that point, like I was a little dumb about the fact of like recording stuff, and also my computer wasn't great. But yeah, I had an older YouTube channel that I would, like I do now, I would upload rare music and stuff to it that wasn't on YouTube or whatever. And I also upload like a few, like I had a video of our dog running around the yard, and I thought it was funny. And then I had a few little videos like that, and then I kind of stopped uploading to it for a while. And then when I went to start making the channel that I have now, I was like, "Oh, I can go just back onto the channel and I can just rename that and blah blah blah." And it had apparently gotten copyright striked to death.
Really?
So it disappeared. It's gone forever.
Oh,
Which sucked because there were a few songs on there that were musical projects that I have or had, that those songs don't exist anymore. Like
oh,
nobody involved, and some for better or worse. But yeah, anybody who worked on those projects, because I've lost like several hard drives since then, so those files are gone. And the other guy I worked on the music with, the guy who I worked on Metal on the Connecticut River with, he doesn't have the files anymore either, so they are gone forever. YouTube took them.
that's unfortunate.
But yeah, when I started, as it is now, when I started the YouTube channel, I didn't have a solid direction I was planning on doing, so I was just throwing stuff at the wall until it stuck. And I'm still kind of throwing things at the wall until it sticks. It doesn't stick a lot. The wall is very slick. But yeah, I started doing Let's Play stuff because I was very much into Game Grumps at the time, and
Mhm.
I really liked I thought Markiplier was very funny. So I was like, I can do that, and then proceeded to not be very funny. Because instead of letting myself just be myself and going screw it, I was super nervous and thought that I had to talk like all the time and not have anything to say. And yeah, turns out that's not very fun to watch. It started to click. I don't know if how many of my older videos you've watched, if any.
Watched one of the wrestling ones.
Oh, okay. Was that the one I had to censor?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, don't drop the F bomb on my channel.
Yeah, he it wasn't even fuck, it was the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, don't say that, dude. He can get me in trouble. But yeah, when I started working with James, and I started doing like co let's plays with him, then it started to click because we had the quality was shit. But like we had a dynamic and it worked, and we did kind of bounce off each other. I really, in hindsight, I could have done it better, because in hindsight, I I feel I've admitted this before, but I was very much a control freak at the time. For it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a good look. So when we were doing stuff, when I let things naturally go, it went well. But then I wanted to do things a very specific way because it was my channel and it was my vision. And it never worked out well. And then we got into a squabble, and then I didn't want to work with him anymore. And then, yeah, so then that like disrupted everything that was going on. And then I tried going solo again and realizing that, oh, I am not good at this solo. I was better with the dynamic. And we've since rekindled and we're friends again. But yeah, it was very douchey move on my part and fully to blame me. And then that began the long run of the channel not having any videos on it for 5 years. So that was the tailspin.
Interesting. Yeah.
I like to say I've gotten better, but I still have my moments where I'm a dick and I need to stop that.
Yeah. What are some of the videos that on your YouTube channel would you say you're probably the most proud of?
The amount of work that I put into that new metal top 100 video, which in hindsight I realize I could do much quicker now, but that was painstaking. And then to see the lukewarm I remember getting angry at the lukewarm reception it got. Because I was like, I just put months of work into this. And then everyone, like, nearly every comment was like, you missed this album, or this album isn't new metal. I can't believe you. I'm like, oh my God, I fucking hate everybody. And yeah, that was a lesson learned of the fact that I need to, if I'm gonna make something, and it's why I've been enjoying doing the recent top genre list things, that I've had to change my mindset of, if I'm gonna do these things, I've got to do it for me. I've got to want to do it, and not like, I can't have expectations. I'm putting this out there in the hopes that somebody will see it and like it, and then go like get something from it. Like, it's like the channel, I feel the channel's almost hit its ceiling, which is, it's fine. It happens. But I needed to basically start learning to just kind of let things roll off my shoulder, just roll down my back. Just, it's fine. So, but that one I was super proud of. I'm trying to think of something else. Everyone likes it, but I wasn't proud of the new metal CD collection video. That one looks terrible. And I feel I probably rambled a lot. I was not so much the video, but I was proud that I got video evidence of me beating Super Meat Boy, because that shit was hard. And I like, there's video of like, and I think I recorded it with a friend of mine. And she was there with me for the entire last several episodes, including the episode that took, like, the final level that took me, I don't even know how many tries, a lot. Like, but I finally did it, and it was a good feeling. And then they were like, do you want to go do the Dark Worlds? And I was like, no, I do not. But yeah, but no, and I feel I've gotten better at, like, I'm proud anytime I feel I put a good amount of energy into it, and I feel I've tried to be creative. Like the newer, like, list videos that I've done that don't actually have any talking from me, like, have taken a lot of time, but I feel I've gotten better at designing them. I've gotten better at the thumbnails, which still are super great, but I feel they're better looking than they were. Like, some of those thumbnails I was doing, like, even a couple of months ago, look like crap. And maybe one day I'll go back there and clean them up, but as for right now, I'm just like, whatever. but yeah, so those are the ones that are coming to my mind. Oh, and the Tox Talk episodes, I'm actually super proud of those. Like I guessed it on New Breed, and then after 4 episodes of doing that, I was like, you know what, I like this. I think I could do it. And then I was like, it was a project that very few people knew it. It was supposed to start 4 months prior that first episode. But I kept getting super nervous and I kept putting it off. And I kept being like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I had a whole bunch of like first guests lined up. And then I kept putting it off, and I kept not doing it, and I kept putting it off, and I kept getting scared. And I was like, oh, this is fucking crazy. And then so I finally was like, it was like within a couple of days, I had asked Santiago, I was like, all right, I'm gonna put myself in a situation. Will you do the first Tox Talk episode? And he's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm like, okay, cool. Can we we're gonna do it in 2 days. He's like, all right, that's fine. I was like, and so that was the first, like, I just did it on a whim. I was like, all right, I need to stop putting it off. And then I did the Orion one, and that I learned a lot from the first one, so I did better with Orion. And then I had that long gap because I was going through some stuff, so I didn't want to do anything. And then I did the Doug one, which was 3 hours, 4 hours. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I was super proud that because that wasn't a talent I realized I had. But underlying, I knew I liked talking, and I liked asking people questions, and I liked pulling things out of people and trying to, get people to open up. And I like it. So yeah, those are my proud things. Woo!
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Other than the YouTubers from like the new metal scene, or on YouTube, what would you say are some of like other YouTube channels that you enjoy and watch?
You want to know a secret?
Sure.
I don't watch any of the new metal YouTubers.
Oh, really?
No. Like I will occasionally, like when I'm building, like I have that massive list on Rate Your Music of all the new metal bands. I'll go through like Fear and Has Sub and all those other guys, and I'll like basically like explore what they've got, but I don't keep up with any of them. Even Melamano, who I've spoken to on several occasions, and he's a super chill dude. I don't follow him either. But like, but if I ever feel like exploring, yes, I'll go to their channels. So because I know where I can go. But as far as like channels I actually openly watch, they're usually pretty far removed from music. I watch 3 football channels. I watch Tom Garassi, who's I put a couple of clips of his on my YouTube channel because I thought they were funny. But he covers the Packers, and he also does these like ridiculous skits where he plays all the characters, and he's really fucking good. Like that man is like crazy, but in a good way. And he also follows the Packers, who I do not give a crap about. But I have so much Packers knowledge at this point, it's ridiculous. But because he's highly entertaining, so I follow him, and I'm like, this dude's great. I don't care about Aaron Rodgers, but and then he has a guy he works with on the regular basis who's Brandon Perna, and he covers the Broncos, another team I don't care about. And then they do a football podcast 3 days a week, and I watch that every episode. There's another football podcast called 3 Guys and a Bear Talk About Football, which is a bunch of YouTubers who got together, like gamer YouTubers who got together and just did a football podcast. One is Wow Krendor, who's most known for World of Warcraft stuff. Bear Taffy, Alpaca Patrol, and Sinvicta, who all do I can't remember. I think Sinvicta's the guy who does all the Binding of Isaac videos. But they do a football podcast, and they're highly entertaining. So I follow that one. I watch the Super Beard Bros, which is probably the only Let's Play channel I really watch. And And then collectively, because of that connection, I watch the Scary Game Squad, which is a part of Jesse Cox's channel. And that's Jesse Cox, the completionist, Alex Fasciani, who's the other half of the Super Beer Bros, and then Davis. I don't actually know it. I think he's the Warp Zone. But yeah, so that's like Let's Play. That's pretty much it. And then I watch Cultaholic, which is wrestling related, and then I watch Chilluminati, which is on Mathis's channel. And Chilluminati is like these weird conspiracy theory or paranormal or true crime like podcast things. And I'm super interested in that just because like I don't believe most of it except for the true crime stuff, obviously. But I'm highly entertained by it. So that's my YouTube stuff. Highly interesting.
That's cool. That's really cool. You have a variety there. Okay. What's another couple other questions? What are some concerts that okay? What are some concerts that or bands that you regret not seeing live? And what are some concerts that you could have went to see live, but you didn't, and then you later regretted?
Okay, so the first part you want bands that I wish I had gotten to see live, but like
Yes.
there wasn't really an opportunity there. And the second part is I could have gone, but I didn't.
Yes.
Okay. So people I regret never getting to see, Bowie. But by the time I was truly into Bowie, he had kind of hung up concert doing. Like he still released a couple albums like in his later years, but he wasn't doing shows anymore. But I wish I had seen Bowie during like the Heathen Tour Reality, which I could have technically, but at that time, like trying to think who I did get to see Stabbing Westward. I wish I had seen some of the industrial bands who didn't make it out of the 90s. I wish I'd seen Machines of Loving Grace. I wish I'd gotten to see God Lives Underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Machine Gun's technically still around. There's probably a bunch. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on a bunch because like mostly I'm trying to think of like bands that have either broken up or like band members are dead and they're not coming. They're not going to do anything about it. But yeah, that's all I'm thinking of at the moment. Where I had an opportunity, most of these are because ticket prices are crazy. Killing Joke came around and I didn't go see them. Paradise Lost, I had a chance. I think there's other ones. Immortal came when it was before they like started splitting off into like 3 different bands. They came to New York City and I could have gone, but I didn't. That's all it's popping in my head. I'm sure there's a bunch more, but
Okay, fair enough.
I did get to see Type O Negative before Peter Steele passes. That's cool.
What tour did you see him?
I saw him 3 times in the Dead Again tour.
Nice.
Which is coincidentally one of my least favorite Type O Negative albums. At least like I don't really like the first album. It's fine, but it just sounds like continuation of Carnivore, which was also fine. I'm far more into October Rust, World Coming Down, Life Is Killing Me, Bloody Kisses. That's my run. But Dead Again was fine. But yeah, I saw him once with Hatebreed and 3 Inches of Blood, which is super freaking weird. I saw them with the guitarist's other band, Seventh Void, and then I saw them with Brand New Sin, actually. But yeah, I think it was also 3 different venues that I saw them at. But yeah, they were good all 3 times. They played World Coming Down the last time I saw them. That was ridiculous live. Shit was
Nice. Yeah. You mentioned in one of your update videos, I remember, yeah, you like snacks. What are some of your favorite snacks?
I need to stop eating snacks. That's my problem. I am okay. So where to go from here? Because I could go in any direction. So I'm a sucker for chips, and really Doritos and fake cheese products. I got to keep those out of my cupboards. But yeah, I absolute sucker for Doritos. Jack's cheese doodles, love them. Pretzels I really like, but then I need to drink like a gallon of water. Popcorn I really like. Like there's probably more snacks that I like than I don't like. I don't care what's in them. I like Slim Jims. Candy, I actually can get away with not enjoying half of candy because I don't actually like chocolate very much. Mostly because it upsets my stomach because I'm pretty sure I have a lactose problem. Yet I still eat cheese, so I don't care. But yeah, I've never been super big on chocolate. I'll eat it once in a while, but sour candy, oh, that's my crack. Love it. Sometimes to my detriment. I had a habit of getting I actually like I tend to like the knockoff candy more than like the big ones. Like Sour Patch Kids are fine, but I like the knockoff versions of like the rope things, or not rope. It looks like tape, but it's like strips of sour stuff. And they sell those in stores sometimes, but they have you can buy them on Amazon for like a pound bag of them for like $8. So I would buy a variety pack of like different flavors of them. And then the problem with snacks and me is that I'm like, ooh, snacks. What if I eat the whole bag? And then so I would eat like I the last time I bought the sour tape shit, I was eating it, sitting here and just watching stuff, and realized that my mouth started hurting. And I kept eating pieces of it, and then I realized basically the sour stuff had ripped like cut a hole or a strip in the middle of my tongue, and like separated it.
Oh,
so like it like basically, yeah, like I just tore a divot into my tongue, and I was like, oh, probably should stop eating this now. I'm gonna stop eating this now. And I also, it's a similar story years ago. I don't even know if they make them anymore. They had a Sour Patch Kids version of popsicles. Oh, they were so good. But the popsicles themselves were super sour, but they had the crystals on the outside. I would eat those like nobody's business. But the problem is, those crystals on a frozen popsicle are like rubbing salt on you. So I would like suck on the popsicle, and I would eat like 2 or 3 of them. And by the time I was done with 3, my lips would actually be literally bleeding. I was like, oh, well, I mean, it doesn't hurt that bad because it's cold and it feels good, but I probably should stop eating these. But yeah, so that's me injuring myself through snacks. A John story.
that should be your new book.
Yeah, injured by snacks. But yeah, no, I love snacks. I need to stop buying them.
Yeah.
Also, anything that's fake cheese. I know I mentioned cheese doodles, but like that liquid, like Cheese Whiz shit, or the stuff that comes in the little plastic containers with like the pretzel sticks or the breadsticks. Oh, love it. So good. I don't care what it is. It's delicious. Maybe I just like salt.
Yeah. I guess on the same topic, your favorite snacks, what's your favorite food in general?
Oh boy. It all depends. Like it's very much a mood thing. Like I am a sucker for pizza. I am Italian to the core. So you give me pizza, you give me pasta. I'm happy.
Mhm.
I really like fish, but I'm picky about it. Like
Mhm.
I love salmon and swordfish, and I like shrimp when it's not cooked. Or sorry, when it's not like hot. Like I like
Right.
cooked shrimp that's cold with cocktail sauce. Love it. You can give me
Mhm.
like 2 pounds of that stuff, and I will sit here and I will eat it.
Mhm.
Um, trying to think. I said pizza pasta. I'm a sucker for a grinder. I just like bread, garlic bread. I used to. There was this horror thing that was horrible for me, but I loved it. I would take garlic bread and I would lightly toast it, and then I would put tuna fish on it. This was when I worked at a restaurant. I would put tuna fish on it, and then I would put bacon on top of that, and then I would put cheese on top of that, and then I would eat it. It was terrible for you, but it was so good. I loved it.
Mhm.
I'm a sucker for tuna with mayo. Um, I will not turn down a grilled hot dog. Uh, Hamburger, really good. I like steak as long as it's done good. Uh, Ribs when they're done good. Ribs are really hard to do, but when they're done good, they're good. I
Mhm.
like pork. I love chicken. Like you can sit me down with a like Texas Roadhouse has a beastly chicken Caesar salad. I love that shit. So
Do
good.
they?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's way more food than you need. And I made the mistake once of getting extra chicken. That was a that was a death sentence. They gave me like a pound and something of chicken, and it was
Wow.
very good. And like a giant bowl of lettuce. I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom now. This is bad.
And
But yeah, no, like another situation of like, unless it's like something super weird, I'll eat it. I also have a love-hate relationship with spicy stuff. Love chili. Love
Mhm.
buffalo wings. It doesn't love me.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, like I've gotten the habit of like as a quick cheat meal, I have hot dogs in my fridge and like those cans of like I have Campbell and Hormel chili, and instead of doing hot dogs and beans, which I also like, I'll just put a can of chili in a pot, like a stove pot, and then I'll cut up hot dogs and I'll throw it in there. I'll just let that slow cook for like 10 minutes, and I'll just have chili dog without bread. It was awesome. I love it. It's terrible for me. I don't care. It's like 5,000 grams of salt. Um, but yeah, no, I like food too. I need to watch what I eat.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Here's an interesting one. What well it's really two it's actually a four-part kind of.
Four-parter.
Yeah. What are some bands that you loved when you were a kid but hate now as an adult, and or some bands that you hated as a kid but you okay.
I
Bands
get
that
what you're
you
trying
hate,
to ask.
yeah, bands you hated as a kid but love as an adult, or bands you love as a kid or hate as an adult.
So I'm I'm not trying to say I'm unique in any way, but I didn't write off many of the bands that I liked as a kid.
Uh-huh.
Like it took something significant for me to like stop liking a band. Like
Uh-huh.
even some of the really wimpy bands that I liked when I was first getting into music. I mean, they're not excellent, but I still like them. My
Uh-huh.
For an example, the first 3 albums I ever owned or first 4 albums I ever owned were Fastball, All the Pain Money Can Buy. I think that's the one with the way on it. Smash Mouth, Fuss You Mang, Savage Gardens, self-titled, and Jock Jam's volume whatever. It's probably volume 1 or 2. It was the one with the pump up the jam, pump it
Oh
real
yeah.
good. That song. Um and I don't have a problem with any of those albums. Even the Savage Garden one. The Savage Garden one is wimpy as hell.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that I Want You and To the Moon and Back aren't good. I love those songs. I don't give a shit.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of a band who I turned on. There were bands I got bored of. But I don't think I ever it came to a point where I didn't like them anymore. Like Arch Enemy got boring.
Mhm.
Although that was obviously a little later. Like that was probably 2003-ish when I first heard Arch Enemy, and I kind of got bored of their sound. But as far as like younger, I can't even like the pop songs. Like I'm like it's whatever.
Mhm.
Uh, like some of them definitely suck. Like I had I forgot about that. No, I lied. Those weren't my first albums. My first albums were Spice Girls, the self-titled, and Hanson's Middle of Nowhere. Those were the first two albums I had. The first rock-oriented albums were the other four. So
Okay.
I had Spice Girls and I had Hanson. Now Wannabe from Spice Girls is whatever. It's the da 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 da. It's fine. The other singles from the album I still like. Like Say You'll Be There is still a good song. I like that song. And
Mhm.
To Become One is good. And the songs from the Spice World soundtrack, I like those songs.
Mhm.
And Hanson, outside of Umbop, which Umbop's bleh, but
Yeah.
Where's the Love is still good. I love that song. I don't care. Fight me, internet. And I Will Come For You is a good ballad. Like so I got no beef with any of those. But yeah, I'm having a hard time thinking of a band I liked as a kid and I don't like now. Unless it was like an artist where I liked a singular song and it was like some weak disposable pop song, and then now I'm just kind of like, I don't care. Um the only actually okay, one that I didn't have the right perception of when I was younger, and then once I started hearing more of them, like does that count?
Yeah.
Pearl Jam.
Okay.
So I liked Pearl Jam because I knew two songs and I thought I was like, oh, these guys must be great. And it was Do the Evolution and one of the other songs from that album. I think it was Brain of J. Uh and Animal. I think those were the three songs I knew. And I was like, oh, these guys are great. And then I started hearing the rest of their stuff over the years, and I was like, these guys aren't great. I don't like this. Pearl Jam sucks. I think to date, there's like 6 Pearl Jam songs I like,
Mhm.
and like 30 that I don't. And I kind of had a similar experience with Dave Matthews Band, where like I knew Don't Drink the Water, and I was like, this is interesting, this is pretty cool. And then I heard their actual stuff and I was like, wow, I don't like this at all. This isn't for me at all. But the reverse of that, like artists I didn't like when I was a kid and like then grew to like, there were a lot. There
Mhm.
were a lot of bands that like we were like trained to hate. We're like, ah, these guys suck. They're wimpy mainstream bands. They're stupid. Creed,
Mhm.
love Creed now. Hated Creed when I was a kid.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, Incubus, although by the time I got into them, that was when they started getting crappy. So I mean, I love the first 3 Incubus albums. Really good though. Trying to think. There's Enya, who I off mentioned before. Like I remember when I was a kid, I was like, it was just pure mood shit. I like this, and now I'm like, man, Enya's awesome. I like this stuff. Uh, but yeah, there's. I'm trying to think of other Goo Goo Dolls. Goo Goo Dolls was another one.
Mhm.
Um, like I loved Goo Goo Dolls up until Let Love In was the last one I truly liked, and I think that was 2006. Um, but
Did you hear a lot of Goo Goo Dolls at one point when you were like working at a grocery store?
yes.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was already a fan, so it was fine. Yeah, they used to play Slide and Black Balloon and Here's Gone. And then when Let Love In came out, they would play that song and then whatever the opening song was. I think it's Stay With You.
Yeah.
But I've seen the Goo Goo Dolls live. They were super good.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're I appreciate them for what they are. They're super
Mhm.
catchy.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of the softer bands that I was like told that like, oh, you shouldn't like these guys, are really wimpy and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, and then I once I like got over that mentality, I was like, oh no, I actually really like these bands. These are good.
Mhm.
I've always been on the Nickelback train. I don't give a shit. I like Nickelback. Everybody
Yeah.
can get fucked.
Yeah.
And yeah, you better believe I listened to the new album, and it's good. Everyone should go listen to it. Stop hating Nickelback. They didn't do nothing to you.
Hmm. I feel like the same way with in a way with Five Finger Death Punch. I think they're just overhated.
Their first 3 albums are legitimately good. The lyrics are kind of dumb, but they're legitimately good. I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you anything about after that.
Uh, yeah. I guess, oh, since we're going into this next question,
Mm-hmm.
other than Nickelback and some other bands, what are some bands that you think are too overhated? That
Every band that I like. Um Honestly, I can throw Manson in here. Um Overhated. Filter gets a lot of shit.
yeah.
And they don't deserve it. Filter was very good. Their
Hmm.
first 3 albums are outstanding, and then Trouble with Angels is good.
Hmm.
Trying to think. Crazy Town.
Hmm.
They're just just be entertained. Stop trying to take music so seriously.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah.
Andrew WK is awesome. All the ones I mentioned already, like Creed and Incubus, Alter Bridge. Why do people crapping on Alter Bridge? Like they got the Creed members on. If you listen to Alter Bridge, are ridiculous. Um, oh, you know, I could have mentioned these guys in the last one. Good Charlotte.
Good Charlotte. Yeah.
They get crapped on way more than they deserve to be. Yes, I get that they're kind of wank a little bit, but they're very good.
Uh-huh.
Same with Blink 182 up to a point.
Hmm.
Sum 41, My Chemical Romance is very good. Him,
I like, yeah.
very good. The Birthday Massacre gets crapped on, and I don't understand that.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm like, they're awesome. It's like, no, they sound poppy. I'm like, yeah, that's what makes them awesome. Baby Metal's not as bad as everyone makes them out to be, even though I won't regularly listen to it. They're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there's probably a bunch of other ones that I'm thinking of or not thinking of. But yeah, and then there's like a ton of bands who get way more love than they probably should get. But there's also bands who are like they're so far up the echelon that like it's impossible to not look at them as overrated. I was having this conversation the other day with somebody about like the big 4 of thrash metal. They're like, "Do you think Slayer is overrated?" I think they're all overrated.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't like any of them. I like all 4 of them. More so Bush era Anthrax than Belladonna. I don't like Belladonna. But
Yeah.
I love Megadeth. But they're overrated. I
Yeah.
like Metallica a lot. They're overrated. Slayer I
Hmm.
really like. Overrated. They all
Hmm.
are. It's because they were put up so high, it's impossible. It's like Tool. It's like, how is Tool not overrated?
Yeah.
Good, but like you have tens of thousands of people telling you online that they're a perfect band. It's like, nah, you can't hold up to that. It's like
Right.
Radiohead. Like, and while I'm not the biggest Radiohead fan, I think they're fine.
Mhm.
But like they're put on such a pedestal that it's like it's impossible.
So are Pantera.
Yeah, Pantera's up there too.
Uh, they're good,
All
but
the Pantera and all the grunge bands.
yeah,
Nirvana. I love Nirvana. Nirvana's overrated.
yeah,
Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam sucks. Alice in Chains. Um, even actually no, the only one who's like properly rated is probably Bush,
yeah,
because they were never overrated and everyone kind of thought they were like cop offs. But I was like, Bush is fine.
yeah. Do you think the Beatles are overrated?
Oh, definitely yes.
Yeah,
They're very good, but they're
yeah,
overrated.
yeah,
They're very good. They're super influential, but yes, that's like asking me if Michael Jackson's overrated. He's
yeah,
very, very good. Or Prince. They're
yeah,
they yeah, it's impossible to come down from that.
yeah,
Also, the Beatles said that they were bigger than Jesus, which is pretty funny.
yeah. All right. What other questions can I ask? Because I have a ton. Like I know I want to like kind of like do it on the cuff, you know.
You ask as many as you want. You can go into whatever subject matter you want.
All right, right on, right on. Oh, shoot. Oh, there was something I wanted. Oh yeah. What's okay? What about band? Well, it's kind of already. I think it's self-explanatory, but bands you believe are underrated.
Every single second tier new metal band.
Yeah.
Um Underrated, it tends to be like that seems to be like the main bands that I loved were like the underdogs. Like outside of me, like some of my favorite bands aren't the underdogs, obviously, but like it's all the other ones who are like in their shadow. Like huge Nine Inch Nails fan, huge Manson fan.
Mhm.
But then you had like Gravity Kills and Stabbing Westward and Sister Machine Gun, Machines of Loving Grace, ChemLab, all those other ones, like they were just overshadowed and didn't get the appreciation they deserved. Uh, Godhead, um, all the new metal ones. Oh, wait, did we do an who's overhated one?
Yeah, overhated. Yeah.
Cradle of Filth. What is people's problem? Leave them alone. They're very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, they
Stop
are.
hating on Cradle of Filth. Like the metal community confuses the shit out of me. They're like, oh, this band got slightly more melodic. I hate them. They suck. All their fans are posers. Like, shut up. Let bands experiment. Stop crapping on
Yes.
Cradle of Filth. They're awesome.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, underrated. Like every genre has a good chunk of bands who are underrated.
Hmm.
Um, like I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Even in like the death metal circles, like the old school death metal bands, you got all the really big ones. You got Entombed, you got Carcass, you got Morbid Angel, you got Cannibal Corpse, Deicide. Uh, in all those, you still have bands like Immolation, Brutality, Resurrection. Bolt Thrower's underrated.
Hmm.
Um, like all those. I'm trying to think of other ones. Cemetery, who became goth metal and then were underrated as a goth metal band. Um, yeah, like all those bands like deserved far more love than they got. Massacres on in that group too. Nocturnus should have been, although they're a little what's the word, rough around the edges, I guess.
Hmm.
But they were one of the more unique death metal bands to come out of the early scenes because they had keyboards. And not only did they have keyboards, they were ridiculous. And their guitar playing was ridiculous. So it was experimental tech death before that was a thing. and I appreciated that, but they got like almost no love. And I've I've slightly also changed my they've kind of soured on me a tiny bit because I saw them live at Maryland Death Fest and they were not good. But it was not fully their fault. They're trying to play tech death outside in the sun with wind, and yeah, it didn't go well. I was like, well, this is not great. But yeah, all those bands, all the second tier new metal bands like Un Loco and Factory 81, Ultra Spank, Sinistar, Dragpipe, Apartment 26, Darwin's Waiting Room. I could go on for hours. Trying to like no one got more hate than they deserved. And yeah, there's Boy Hits Car. Why wasn't Boy Hits Car super popular? They're very good. And they also had a unique sound. Dust for Life got overshadowed by like Creed and those bands. Three Doors Down is a band who I didn't like when I was a kid, and now I like now. Because for years I was like, I don't want to listen to these guys, super mainstream and they're lame. And then within the last year, I finally sat down with The Better Life, and I'm like, this album is really good, start to finish. Shit.
Yeah, I felt like that with Breaking Benjamin. Like
Yeah,
when
I had some weird hate with them early on too.
Yeah.
I like them now. Like I love Saturate and We Are Not Alone. The other ones are all right, but those two are really good.
All right. Yeah. What are some of your favorite new metal soundtracks? Like
Dracula
soundtracks.
2000.
Yes.
If it counts, the Spawn soundtrack.
Okay.
Trying to think. Thing is, I have. Oh, they're not over there anymore. I forgot I was ripping them. Trying to think of what new metal soundtracks there were. Heavy Metal 2000 is excellent.
Yes.
That was my first exposure. Like a friend of mine who's not a new metal fan had that soundtrack. And he really liked it. And that was my exposure to a bunch of those bands for the first time. So technically my friend who doesn't like new metal exposed me to a bunch of new metal bands. Because that was the first time I heard Sinistar, Full Devil Jacket, Hate Department. Trying to think of who else is on that soundtrack. I know Machine Head's on there, but I knew who Machine Head was. I know Pantera's on there. ICP and Twisted are on there. Puya, I think, might be on there. Yeah. Oh yeah, Cold I knew who Cold Chamber was though.
Yeah.
I love that song. That song's stupid as hell. Dun 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 dun. When we wish. But yeah, no, I know there's a bunch, and I'm drawing a blank. It's not new metal, but I was a big fan of the Godzilla soundtrack. With, the Wallflowers covered Hero and the Green Day's remix of Brain Stew, Puff Daddy singing over Kashmir. That was great.
Strangeland soundtrack.
Strangeland soundtrack's cool. I still haven't seen the movie.
Good movie.
I've been told it's weird. I've just never sat down and watched it.
Queen of the Damned soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, I've heard both versions of it. I've heard the version where it was the bootleg version where it's all Jonathan Davis's vocals, and then I've heard the version that got released. Try that. Oh, the first Resident Evil movie soundtrack.
That's
that one's ridiculous. Trying to think. There was Freddy vs. Jason's very good. God, there's what's the one with nothing face on it? Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
The Down in Flames. That one's a good
Mm-hmm.
one. Yeah, I know that there's at least like 20. There was the one that had Crushed from Limp Bizkit, End of Days. That was pretty good. It
Yeah.
also had Professional Murder music on it. That was good.
Before their first album came out, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember. There was the one where they all had to do covers. Manson was on it with Tainted Love. Not another teen movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty good too. Zoolander was interesting because it had Power Man 5000's Relax, and it had Faces from Orgy, which was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, a lot of those soundtracks I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Dracula 2000 is always the one that sticks in my mind, though, because it was the only time most people were exposed to Flybanger.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, up the Flybanger.
Mm-hmm. Well, trying to think. If you were to reunite any new metal bands, like 5, for a show, who would they be?
So I'm gonna go with bands I've never seen before.
Okay.
I would reunite. Well, they're technically reunited. I want the original incarnation of Lifer. So they still have a DJ. I would take Skeletons era Nothing Face.
Who would be now? Now here's another sort of a side thing to that. Who would replace Matt?
Oh, they're dead. Shit. Who could do his voice? Honestly, I don't know. He doesn't have the dynamics as much. Johnny from Spineshank might be able to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe him. But if I could get like Living or Dead, if I can get that era Nothing Face,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, you know what? I won't include them then, because yeah, that kind of goes outside the loop. Okay, so we'll do Lifer. I'd like to see No One. So I want No One.
Mm-hmm.
Factory 81. Slightly After Mankind, so they play the demo stuff. That's 3. Sinistar.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do I want? Ultra Spank.
Perfect.
I think
Nice.
I think that'd be a good show.
What would, if you were to have a new metal festival, what would you name it?
I wanted to say John Fest.
John Fest.
John
Okay.
Fest. I'm trying to. I don't want it to just be one word, because the word that keeps popping into my head is Newtopia.
Mm-hmm.
Frick. Just welcome to Newtopia. Just a touring new metal festival.
Newtopia, I love it.
And John Fest.
John Fest.
Like, who the fuck is John? The one running the festival.
Uh, okay. I guess going back, who are your favorite? I guess going back to movies, who are some of your favorite actors?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicholas is in the cage. Yes. Okay.
Um, trying to think. I really like Nicolas Cage. Um, I like Kurt Russell most of the time.
Hmm.
Oh fuck. Ben Stiller's good. Uh, Jim Carrey for a while was good. I couldn't tell you the last thing I saw him in, but he definitely had a really strong run. I think the last movie I saw with Jim Carrey was what's the one where he's God?
Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, I think it's the last one I saw him
Mm.
in. Unless the number, what was the number? Number 13? The one where he like
Number 23.
number 23. Whatever one of those was the last one he did.
Yeah, it would have been the number 23.
Okay. Yeah, I like Jim Carrey for a while. I liked him a lot more than Adam Sandler, although Adam Sandler had some movies that I really liked.
Hmm.
Mostly Happy Gilmore. I'm trying to think. I like Christian Bale. I thought he was a good Batman, even though people made fun of his Batman voice, which I get.
Hmm.
But I thought he was good, and I thought he was good in American Psycho. I like Dennis Hopper. I like Keanu Reeves. Um, uh, I'm trying to think of a woman. Um, uh, I like most of the things I've seen Sandra Bullock in.
Hmm.
Um, did I say Ben Stiller? I think I did.
Yes.
And Samuel L. Jackson's always ridiculous. I like Samuel L. Jackson. And who
Right
who
on.
played who played Django? Was that Jamie Foxx?
Yes.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx is good too.
Did you ever
And
see that video? Wait, did you ever see that video I uploaded on my other channel of the Jamie Foxx documentary?
I don't think so.
It's a VH1 driven.
No, I don't know. I don't think I ever watched that.
Oh, okay.
I'd be interested in checking it out because I do like Jamie Foxx. And I
Okay,
also like
I said you what?
okay. I was gonna say I also like who's the short guy? Comedy guy. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's funny. The Rock's good. Um yeah, those are all the ones I'm thinking of off the top of my head. And Brendan Fraser was cool for a while too.
Mhm.
Up the Brendan Fraser.
Mhm. Right on, right on. Oh yeah, so uh what are what is camera?
Focus. Focus.
The camera focus for John.
There we go. Okay, I got it.
All right.
I hate autofocus so much.
uh So, what are? Uh, oh yeah. So going to your music now. I've
Oh boy.
listened to your stuff, and it's really, really good. You know,
Don't lie to me.
backwards. It's no, it is. Uh, what would you say is your magnum opus of all your music related projects?
The Doug Shorts conspiracy.
Perfect answer.
It's the greatest thing I ever written. My favorite moment was putting that up on YouTube and then telling all the people in Discord. I was like, there's this really important album I want you guys to listen to. I made it a long time ago. It would mean a real lot for you to listen to it with me. And they were like, okay. And then I proceeded to make them sit through that. And they were like, why did you do that? I was like, yay, I did it. Up the Doug Shorts. Yeah, no, is just for the insanity of it, Doug Shorts. From a musical perspective of like pushing myself,
Mhm.
with working with others is definitely Metal on the Connecticut River. Like I did a lot better than I thought I was going to. And some of those songs turned out way better than I originally like. The God, I don't know. I'm gassing now. The early demo versions of a lot of those songs sound like shit, but by the end, like after my vocals got re-recorded like 10 times, they all sounded good. So I was happy with that. So I was proud of myself for getting that far. And by the time I had stopped properly doing it, like I'm kind of sinking or slipping back into it now. But at the height when I was doing the Backwards Funeral, I was super proud of what I was doing. Like I had made it complex enough. Like not a lot of the people in the scene were paying too much attention to it. Because there's like 5,000 dungeon synth bands or projects. But I felt I was doing a real good job and I was proud of the stuff I was doing. So those were but yeah, magnum opus is Doug Shorts. Doug Shorts conspiracy. Best thing I ever did. I peaked early.
Mhm. That should be like that should be our like we should use one of the Doug Shorts conspiracies for our national anthem.
Yeah. That 8-minute long song.
Yeah.
That is, I forgot I made that. Like, cause I hadn't listened to it in forever. And if I ever listened to it, I would like play one of the first few songs and I'm like, oh, this is funny. But going through the full album, like we were going through and the songs are getting like I remembered the progression. Like I remember I could clearly tell the point where I bought a guitar. And then I was like, I'm gonna put guitar in this, and I could not play guitar. I still arguably can't play guitar, but like at that point, I was just like, I'm gonna make weird sounds out of my guitar and put that in the background. And then we got to that song that like where me and Pete go back and forth on these long tangents, and it's just this repeating melody that slowly gets faster as the song goes on, and I was like once it hit like the I actually don't remember how long the song is. It's at least 5 minutes long. But I remember it started hitting a point where I was like, I can't believe this is because we definitely did it in one take. I was like, I can't believe we did this. This is the most insane thing I ever did. and I'm super happy I did it. And I'm super happy it still exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I want somebody to stumble upon that and go, what the hell is this?
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the exact guitar, the model that you bought?
It was a knockoff Stratocaster. I just remember it was green. But yeah, it was a knockoff Stratocaster, so like a cheap version. I couldn't tell you. That guitar is long gone. Like I was never super sentimental about instruments. So when an instrument broke, I was just like, okay, I'll buy another one. So I'm on like guitar 6 now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But this one actually cost me a little bit more money, so I'm a little bit more protective of this one.
Mm-hmm. Right on, right on. All right. Here's an interesting question. What are some of your favorite uh new metal videos, like concert videos or home videos or whatever?
Oh, I thought you were
Or
going to
you
say music videos. I was
no,
going to say From Zero, check ya, where they turn into
oh,
a marble.
that's a good.
I love that video. So I show anyone that video. I don't care what kind of music they like. I'm like, watch this. The guy has a bunch of piercings in his face, and then he falls into a marble and gets sucked into a void. It's 2001. It's awesome. Home
Actually,
videos.
before we go into like concert videos, now that you mentioned it, what are some of your favorite music videos? Period. Like music videos.
Um, I am a big fan of the early Manson videos. Coma White is definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
And Tourniquet. Oh, and Dope Hat. I like Dope Hat.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. I really like the video for Stabbing Westward's Shame because it's
Mm-hmm.
stupid and it's like a story arc going on in the background. And then as they're also like, it's a story arc about a movie going on in the background, and I don't know if you've ever seen the video, but it's a live performance of the band playing on a roof, and then they keep cutting to this story of this guy coming to hunt down this girl and like try and like kill her, and that's being played on a movie screen, and one by one the band members leave their place on the stage or on like the rooftop and like sneak off the side and go watch the movie, and all of them leave the vocalist. So the vocal by the end of the video, the vocalist is just rocking out on the rooftop while all the other ones are sitting in the theater with like 3D glasses on. And then at the very end of the video, like when the song ends, the singer just like looks around, he's like, the fuck? And then just walks off. Like, I love that video. Devin Townsend band's Vampiro, where he dresses in the devil outfit. If you've ever seen gifs of Devin Townsend in the devil outfit, that's where that's from. Nine Inch Nails, The Perfect Drug is awesome. I love that video. Trying to think. Typo Negative doesn't have good videos.
You don't think so?
Not really.
Uh,
Well, actually, you know what? No. Black Number One's got a good video.
yeah.
But actually, no, I take that back. Black Number One's good, and Love It to Death is good.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the funny one? Is it I Don't Want to Be Me? That one's not
Yeah.
so bad. Trying to think. Hypocrisy's Eraser's good because there's aliens. Cradle of Filth, From the Cradle to Enslave, that required more. I can't remember what the statistic is, but they used more blood in the making of that video than they did in the Hellraiser movie, I think.
Really?
Yeah. And it's a super bloody video. And I think that was, they also I can't remember who directed it, but it was a favor was exchanged when they directed that video, because then the guy Doug Bradley does Pinhead, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He does voice work for 2 future Cradle of Filth albums, where he does spoken word parts in like 2 or 3 songs. And it's I at first I thought it was just Danny pitch shifting his voice, and then like you see in the credits, it's like spoken word parts by Doug Bradley. I'm like, Pinhead? What? Yeah, but yeah, those are some of my favorites. Also, the Monster Magnet one where they go through space. The Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I like that one.
Now, as far as like concert videos and just like random home movie videos, what are some of your favorites? If
Avril
you've ever,
Lavigne's My World.
oh,
I did used to have that and it was fine. Um
Avril Lavigne.
I liked the first two Avril Lavigne albums. Um the I used to have a My Dying Bride one that was really good, and I can't remember what it was called. It's like Cinemarata, something like that. I had a Typo Negative one that was good. It had their Bizarre Festival show on it.
Symphony for the Devil.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I had a Lamb of God one that was really good. So it adds it was for the Ashes of the Wake tour. Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
That one was good. Trying to remember what else I had. I had Power Man 5000's Backstage and Beyond the Infinite. That one was good. Both Manson ones I had were good. I had Dead to the World and God is in the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Guns, God, and Government was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. Dead to the World might actually be my favorite, like top. Because that was when I was first getting into Manson, and so that was important. Like I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm trying to like go through like an alphabetical band catalog in my head. I had a Slipknot one that was good too. Disaster Pieces.
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't think I ever actually owned a Cradle of Filth one. Oh, I had a Cure one. The one where they did the 3 albums. It might have been called Trilogy. They did Disintegration, Faith, and Bloodflowers. That one's really good. Big Cure fan. Big Depeche Mode fan. Somehow I don't have a Depeche Mode DVD. And I had a Killing Joke one I used to watch. And yeah, I think that's kind of it.
Right on.
Oh, I had a cheesy 80s one from David Bowie. I loved that one. It was a Glass Spider tour. Oh, at his peak of being pomp, loved it. He's like, I hated that album and that tour. I'm like, I don't care, I loved it. And Alice Cooper's oh god, it's For Brutal Planet. I can't remember what it's called. Brutally Live, maybe. That's that. But up the industrial metal Alice Cooper. Loved it.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Oh, what's an album that you would love to own a physical copy and is still on the hunt for? Okay. Where's like, but you want to own, but either you can't find it or it's just too expensive.
Trying to think. I'm trying to think of something that's like just been unattainable. Even not for listening's sake, I would love to. Actually, there's 2. I would love to have a physical copy of the 4-track Stabbing Westward demo, Iwo Jima.
Mm-hmm.
Like the actual one, not the re-released, re-recorded one. Like I don't give a crap about that. And I would also like a real copy, even though I don't know if it actually exists. It's like in bootleg form.
Mm-hmm.
I would like Purest Feeling from Nine Inch Nails, the Pretty Hate Machine album, which is just the demos of Pretty Hate Machine, but then Purest Feeling and maybe just once, and then an intro that was never reused again. I want that.
Mm-hmm.
And when Ring Finger was called Twist.
Mm-hmm. Right
I would
on.
like those. I'm trying to think of anything else that's like hyper rare that I've never been able to obtain. I'd like the Worm Phlegm things, but they're not on CD because they were like, what if we just release things on vinyl? And what if we only make like 25 copies? I'm like, you guys are dicks.
Or what about albums that you wanted to buy but you didn't have the money at the time?
And now
They
they're
were rare.
expensive.
Yeah.
There's probably a few. I know I had a shot many years ago at getting reasonably priced copies of the Dead Z album, the self-titled one. I feel Trepanation was also attainable at a point. Oh, I know what I want. And this one I have never even been able to hear the whole thing of, but it's on Discogs, and a couple of songs have leaked from it. Econoline Crush has a demo, of from Purge, or like pre-Purge. They had it's like 8 songs or something, and only 2 of those songs have ever leaked. I want to hear the whole thing because I love me some Econoline Crush, and it probably sounds like crap, but I don't care and I want to hear it. I sent them I messaged them on Instagram at one point, and I was like, hey, could you put this on like Bandcamp or something? I'll pay you, and they never responded to me.
Wow.
Which was the opposite of Jack Frost, who I asked for. I was like, hey, so you have these like 2 really obscure demo things that came out in like the early 90s. Would I, if I gave you guys money, would you be able to send them to me? I just want to hear them. And they were like, what's your email address? And I was like, this, and they just sent me them. I was like, oh, thank you.
That's cool.
Thank you, Mr. Austrian Jack Frostman. But yeah, probably the Dead Z one. Crossbreed. I remember Crossbreed 0.01, even though it's not very good. It was a reasonable price at one point, but yeah, since then it's like skyrocketed. It's stupid now. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay this much money for an album I don't actually like that much. If I ever saw it for like 30 or something, I'd probably throw the money at it. But there's like 2 or 3 Factory 81 demos that have never been heard. I would like those. Give me all the things that nobody's heard.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like 2 or 3 Nothing Face demos when they had the other vocalist that, like, besides Braid, that are really hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to hear what Braid isn't bad. It's like grungy Nothing Face, so I'd be interested in hearing what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mentioned when I showed my copy of Pacifier, I mentioned that I really wanted to get a copy of the first Nothing Face album, which is called Nothing Face.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they put it out on vinyl, they removed some songs.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I remember seeing something about that, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah,
the only obscure one I've been able to find is it's called, it has a stupid name. It's like 3 songs you haven't heard or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a sampler, and it's like 3 tracks post Braid but pre self-titled Nothing Face, and those are interesting. The only song I remember is there's one called Fast as Fuck. But yeah, there's Architect of So Much Evil or something, and then there's another one, and there's just two, but yeah, I've wanted to hear those for years and never been able to find them. But yeah, I don't know why they edited the Nothing Face vinyl release.
Hmm.
Was Holt on that, or was he not in the band yet?
Let me double check.
Pacifier took me a long time to get into.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that album off for many years.
Matt was on the first Nothing Face CD.
Okay, so he is on the self-titled one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The architect of so much evil, is that the demo you're talking about?
Yeah,
That
that's
you
one of the ones
wanted to
I've
have a
been
copy of or
trying.
something?
Huh? Yeah, no, I
Oh,
don't.
no.
I
Yeah.
don't have a copy of it. That's one of the ones I've been searching for.
Okay, right on, right on. 3 songs you haven't. Okay.
Yeah,
Right
the
on.
3 songs you haven't heard one. I found an MP3 copy of that, and then I have there was somebody I know who had the tape of Braid, so I've been able to hear that.
Okay.
But yeah, stuff like that, like demo stuff that is like super rare. I'd love to have. Even
Mm-hmm.
not even to like be like, haha, I have this. I just want to hear it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I know a handful of people who are just like, haha, look what I've got. Look at how rare it is. I'm like, I just want to hear the music, man. I don't give a shit about that. I don't want
Yeah,
the
I
clout.
know. That's how I feel with some bootleg videos. Like the bootleg trading community is just like,
Yeah, some of those
there's,
guys are crazy.
yeah, like, oh yeah, we have this video of this band like at this live show. It's like, I have it, you don't, you know.
Yeah. We had this guy in the Flax server not that long ago who was like, it's like, oh, I've become friends with a bunch of the trader people on the new metal Facebook groups, and they're sharing like super rare stuff with me. It's really cool. Look at all the stuff I got. I can't share it with you guys though. They told me not to though. But here's the stuff I got. I'm like, you're a dick. You could have just not told us that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a weird like attempt at a power move, but that kid was a brat anyway, so fuck him.
Yeah. uh, oh, here's a question.
Mhm.
Have you ever met any of your followers or fans in person?
Outside of the people I already know, no, I don't think so.
Like, have you ever been recognized?
No,
Uh,
thank God. Like, you're that asshole with the new metal CD collection. Get him. No, yeah, I'm trying to think of a. I'm just gonna say no. I don't think I have. Like, and anybody who I met, who is aware of my YouTube channel is just people I know or people I worked with.
okay.
I'm not getting chased down the streets. Not yet. Maybe one day.
uh, have you ever met any of your subscribers in person? Like,
Uh no. Once again, not outside of the people who I already know who are subbed to
oh,
my
okay.
channel.
Okay.
Like the only time I can think of where I met anybody online, like outside of like me already knowing them in real life, was when I was I don't remember how old I was. I think it was 20, maybe 21, and my mom let me fly halfway across the country to go to Indiana to go to our one of my forum friends' 21st birthday parties, and it was like 9 of us who had been hanging out on a Stabbing Westward / Dreaming forum for like a year and talking to each other like every day. My mom let me get on a plane and fly out to Indiana, and it was awesome. I got to that's probably one of the only times I've done something like that.
Other than going to New York, have you ever been to any shows outside of where you out of state?
Well, the Maryland Death Fest one, that was a big one. Outside of Connecticut, I've been to all the surrounding ones. I've been to Rhode Island twice. I saw Typo Negative and Stabbing Westward at different shows. Mass, I've been to a bunch. And New York, I've been to for 2 different shows. We went to New York City to see Cradle of Filth and Satyricon, and then Brooklyn to see the Butthole Surfers. But yeah, the most of the shows I've ever been to in my life have been Connecticut and Mass.
Right on. Have you ever been to the West Coast?
Yes, but I've never been to California.
You need to come.
Yeah. I worked on a cruise ship in 20. What year did the self-titled Stained album come out?
2011.
Okay, it was 2011 then. So 2011, I worked on a cruise ship. I just remember because I bought it when it was coming out. When I was out there. Yeah, I worked on a cruise ship that originally they hired me in Connecticut to work in Baltimore. And then while in Baltimore, I only worked there 2 weeks. And then they told everyone that, hey, we don't have enough passengers for the next 2 weeks, so we're not going to be running the boats for the next 2 weeks. So you guys can either go home and come back, or you can go you can get stationed somewhere else. And nearly everyone said, oh, we'll just go home and come back. And I was like, that's stupid. I just got here. I've never been. And then so I was like, where do you want to, like, you're gonna buy my plane ticket, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, where are you sending me? And they're like, Oregon. I was like, oh, okay, let's go. So I went to, they sent me to Oregon, and we rode I think it was the Snake and Columbia River. And so the boat went between Oregon, Washington, and touched Idaho, and then came back. And then I went on that trip several times for 2.5 months, because it was all in all, it was a 3-month trek. So yeah, so that was the exposure of me to the West Coast, and I had a really good time. Like the work was grueling, but it was good for me. That was a good turning point in my work career. But yeah, getting to see all these towns that looked like they hadn't aged past 1950 was super cool. We don't have that in Connecticut very much. All these mom and pop shops with super nice people. I got to see hipster centric Portland, Oregon. That was cool. Where was the first time I was ever exposed to people smoking weed out in the streets. I was like, what is happening? They're like, it's okay here. I'm like, what? What do you mean it's okay here? They're like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, what? It was a culture shock to me. And I got to go to a bookstore that was 3 stories. I guess it's the biggest bookstore in the country. That was super cool. I bought a Limp Bizkit book. I still haven't read it. It's on my shelf. It was like $5. But yeah, so that was my exposure to the West Coast. And then we had a week after we were all done that we all decided, or not we all, 5 of us decided we were going to stay together for like a week and just kind of chill and see the sights. So I got to see, what's the mountain over there? Mount St. Helens, I think. And a bunch of other little things. And it was super chill. But yeah, that was my West Coast experience. Never went to California. And then on the way back, I had a layover in Phoenix, and I took one step out of the airport in Phoenix, took one breath of air, nearly choked, walked back into the airport. And I'm like, oh, this is different. I'm going to die out here. I'm going back in the airport. Probably would have walked like 50 feet outside and just fallen over. My lungs wouldn't have known what to do. But yeah, that's my travel history. You've pretty much got my entire travel history there.
Oh, that's cool. Kind of an oddly specific question,
Uh-huh.
but have you ever bought a rare CD? Like it was a CDR and you bought it and you listened to it and like it didn't work?
Yes.
Oh wow.
And I had to have a back and forth with the seller. I'm like, dude, it doesn't work. And he's like, no, it worked before. I'm like, I'm telling you, it doesn't work. And he's like he finally was like, all right. And then he got it back. And I was like, did you get it back? And he's like, yep. I'm like, do you try it? He's like, yeah, it doesn't work. So I threw it in the garbage. I was like, oh, all right. Sorry. He's like, it's not your fault. I was like, everything else you sent me worked. He's like, yeah, it sucks. It was the capstone demo that I still haven't been able to find. It was 2000 megahertz beta, whatever.
Oh, that.
Yeah, so that doesn't work, or it didn't work. I was able to get Unearthed, and I was able to get the 2000 demo, but the 2000, wait, is it? Yeah, demo 2000 I have, and Unearthed I have, which Unearthed I got for a steal. But yeah, the 2000 megahertz beta, I bought it, got sent the copy, and then it would not work at all. And the thing is, I would put it in the CD drive, and it would tell me there were 6 tracks. I tried my car stereo, I tried this stereo, I tried my PS4, I tried my Xbox, I tried my computer, I tried everything. It would not play, it would not read, outside of telling me that there were 6 tracks on that CD. And I was like, well, this sucks. So yeah, that's one of the only bad experiences I've ever had. Thankfully.
Yeah. I got there's a band that I had called Crawl 420. I don't know if you've heard about them.
I don't think so.
They're kind of like a hardcore influenced new metal band. Bought one of their EPs, the thing didn't even play. So I completely understand. It wasn't that expensive, thankfully, but you know. What else? What autographs do you have in your collection?
Very few.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I have this weird thing with autographs where like I got them for a little while because I thought I was supposed to, and then over time I was like, I don't actually care about these. I was super interested in meeting people, but like I never cared about like being like, can you sign this for me and then it's mine. I could probably tell you what I've had autographed over the years.
Sure.
I had as I mentioned before, I had Monster Magnet's God Says No autographed. I had Soil Scars autographed, Otep Sevis Tra, which I think I still have the copy of. Devil Driver's self-titled, which I don't have the copy of anymore. I'm not sure what happened to it. I inherited a signed copy of the Blank Theory's Blinding Process. Not the major label album, one of the 2 demos or EPs. I got it and it was signed. I also got Finger 11's Tip, and I bought that and it was signed. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Don't you have Apartment 26 EPs?
I do, but it's not signed.
Oh, okay.
I do love that EP though.
Oh.
I'm trying to think. I got somebody signed. I used to have one of the Ozfest tickets signed, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Might have been the Union Underground guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I met him, so it might have been him.
Okay.
I used to have an Andrew WK autograph. But I don't know what happened to that either. There was also a picture that got taken of my mom was really bad at like getting a disposable camera, taking a bunch of pictures with it, and then losing the disposable camera. So we brought a disposable camera to Ozfest 02, and like I never saw those pictures.
Oh.
But yeah, so Andrew WK autograph. I think I had a Behemoth autograph at one point because I met them. They were tall.
Really?
Those dudes are like 6'10". And did not speak very good English, but they were very nice. But I had a friend with me who was Polish, so he just like rattled off words to them. I was like, I don't know what you guys are saying. Yeah, that's all I'm thinking of at the moment. But yeah, I was never super heavy into autographs. I know a lot of people who were, but yeah, it was never particularly my thing.
Yeah, I only get autographs for people I go to signings. That's it. I don't really. If I ever meet them in person, I don't just, say hi. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather try and have a conversation with them.
Yeah. Do you have any cassettes in your collection?
Not anymore. I almost released a cassette.
Really?
It was under consideration for a little while. Maybe I will in the future. I don't freaking know. I released when under the Backwards Funeral moniker, I released 3 songs through a compilation series that's on a record label. And I regularly have spoken with the guy, and he's a super chill dude. But I never brought up the idea of maybe releasing something proper through with him. But the way he is, I bet you that if I went to him and was like, "Hey, would you have any interest in doing this?" He would go for it. And so there was a period of time because I remember I sent you the pins.
Yeah.
That like I was going to release that on CD and I never did. But at the same time I was thinking I did some research into doing a cassette release, and I considered it for a little while, and then I just ended up not doing it. But yeah, I had a decent CD or decent cassette collection when I was a kid. It was mostly early going. It was because I didn't have a portable Walkman yet, so I didn't have a portable CD player. I had a portable cassette player. So if I bought CDs, what I would do was I would buy those blank cassette tapes, and I would put the CD in my stereo and then do the trick of recording to the tape. And so that's how I would make cassette tapes, or I would have a few that I bought. I remember the Hanson one, the Fastball one, the Spice Girls one, Mechanical Animals. I think Antichrist I had on CD. And there was a few others that I had that were exclusive. Smash Mouth was on cassette, and Rob Zombie's Hellbilly Deluxe I had on cassette. But yeah, so I had those on cassette, and then around the time of me getting Power Man 5000 and Monster Magnet and White Zombie and all those, I started getting CDs, and then that's where that started just going. And I think that might have also been the same Christmas I got Follow the Leader. So that was my nosedive into nu metal proper was Follow the Leader.
Very cool. No, do you think there's bands out there that do you think are labeled nu metal and are probably not because they're just lumped into that name?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I don't particularly think Chevelle is nu metal, but they get lumped in. Seether I see get dumped in there a lot, and I'm like, Seether's not nu metal. And they're like,
Yeah,
they're nu metal, and I'm like, not really. They're like post grunge.
Yeah.
There's like a little bit of alt metal there, but
yeah.
I don't, except for a couple of songs, I don't think Breaking Benjamin's really nu metal. There's a
No.
few songs on Saturate where I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, like Shallow Bay or Home. But yeah, there's probably a bunch or nu metal bands who started releasing albums that weren't nu metal, but they still got called nu metal. Like Deftones After White Pony isn't particularly nu metal anymore, but they still get labeled as it. Fear Factory is debatable. It's mostly Obsolete and Digimortal where they get the tags, but even then it's kind of like but then there's a bunch who are like, we're not nu metal. I'm like, you totally were. Don't mess with me, Edema or Disturbed. You were nu metal. Stop it.
Yeah, I know and then years later, like, oh yeah, you know what? We actually were nu metal.
Yeah,
we
now that it's cool to be nu metal again. Yeah, Rage Against the Machine's another one. But they're more like proto, if anything. Faith No More getting called nu metal weirds me out.
Yeah.
I love Faith No More, but they're not. They flirted with it at the very end, like on Album of the Year. There's songs that are like, it's like, oh, okay, I could see it. But like they're like, no, the real thing, and oh my god, Angel Dust they're like, those are nu metal. I'm like, they are not.
I've heard people say like Helmet's nu metal. I'm like, no.
That one's weird. But yeah, it's people like to take the bands who are influences and be like, no, they were totally nu metal. They weren't. Mr. Bungle was not nu metal. You can say it all you want. It wasn't a thing. Primus wasn't nu metal. Biohazard, well, they started to kind of do it later on. Even Body Count gets lumped in. I'm like, nah, Body Count's not nu metal. Body Count's its own thing.
Yeah. I consider them more kind of like rap metal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's the best way to describe them.
Yeah. Which that's a whole thing on its own, you know.
Yeah.
People like, I hate that people say like, oh, nu metal has like, you know, turntables and it has rapping. It's like, not necessarily.
I wish more nu metal bands had turntables. I fucking love scratching at nu metal. But yeah, no, it's not like all these bands were all kind of thrown together and into a big, massive mess of a genre. And that a lot of them don't sound the same, which is fine. Or they make up their own fake genres for themselves. Looking at you, Coal Chamber, with your spooky core. And who are the other ones?
Static X was Evil Disco. Yeah.
Power Man 5000 was Action Rock.
Did they call themselves Action Rock? I didn't know that.
Dragpipe was Gasoline Rock. Head P was G Punk.
G Punk.
I know there's other ones. Oh, Dead Z was Undercore. That was good. I know there's other ones. But yeah, like I loved the fake made up genres. They're like, you want to make up a genre to put us in? We're gonna make up our own. Which I do. I kind of get. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Static X is actually another one where like they are nu metal, but they're not. They kind of border that.
Yeah. Definitely.
especially Wisconsin Death Trip. Wisconsin Death Trip doesn't really feel like a new metal album. I
No.
get that there's the elements in Push It and I'm With Stupid and a couple other songs, but like for the most part, it feels like an industrial metal album. Then with the more melodic stuff on Machine and Shadow Zone, then okay, I get it. Like Shadow Zone feels the most new metal out of their catalog, but it's a really
Hmm.
good album. I love that album.
Yeah, me too. But I remember in one of the what you call it, the New Breed podcasts you were on, you were even like, if called Static X industrial metal is like, because if you listen to all the other industrial metal bands, like you were saying, Static X weren't exactly that, but it had elements of industrial metal.
It's weird because industrial metal has like layers to it. Like cuz it's kind of in the same way new metal is. Where you have a band like trying to think. Like you'd call like Slipknot and Down the Sun new metal, but you'd also call like Borealis and Crazy Town new metal. And they feel very different from each other, but they're
Hmm.
still in this big spectrum. Whereas like with Static X feels like a super good gateway band to industrial metal, but you're also considering that you call Static X or who's a band comparable to them. Uh I almost wanted to say Fear Factory there. Static
Wrong.
Static X Rammstein. There you
Oh.
go. Two industrial metal bands. And then you also have bands like Soulstorm or Godflesh or Early Pitch Shifter, Early Fear Factory like Soul of a New Machine. Like that's industrial metal too. And those feel miles apart.
Hmm.
Like because you had the early industrial metal, like early 90s stuff, that was like it sounded like really aggressive machines. It didn't rely as much on synths. It was more like repetitive riffing and stuff like that and like drum machines. And then it became a bit more synthy as the 90s went on. And then, but you still had to categorize the heavier industrial bands as industrial metal. Like, cause they're like, cause Static X and Stabbing Westward and Static X and like Gravity Kills, Static X is a little heavier, so they got to go a step above. But it's also like it's weird. It's like as time goes on, like things like alternate, but the genre's names stay the same. It's like how they kept calling like early 90s stuff alternative rock, like even though like you call it grunge too, but you call like Nirvana alternative rock and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and Alice in Chains, and then you get to the late 90s and you're like, oh, but Creed and Fuel are also alternative rock. It's like those bands feel very different from each other.
Hmm.
But yeah, like that's the only thing I meant. I meant no offense to Static X. I like Static X.
No,
I think
no,
it's
of
very good.
course, no. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the problem with giving it's the big problem with giving genres to bands anyways. Like it's just like there's gonna be some snags.
Right on. That's a really good question. Uh, I guess here's another one. What's a music genre that you love that people wouldn't think who know you like?
New wave.
New wave, huh?
Mm,
How long you been into new wave?
5 or 6 years. 5 or 6 years like truly into it, but I've been exposed to it since the early 2000s because of like Gary Newman and Depeche Mode. Um, but it was within the last like 5 or 6 years that like I started to realize I was like, you know what, I really like that 80s synthy sound.
Hmm.
Let's give it a real shot. So I started dipping my toes in it, and yes, there's some crap like with every genre, but I like I feel that 14-year-old really angry me would be very disappointed in how much I really like Duran Duran. Um and to the same degree, like bands like Def Leppard and stuff like that, and Rat. Like, hair metal's cool too. I like it. But yeah, like I got really into like 80s stuff. Um as much as like I feel as a metal fan and as a rock fan, like I'm not supposed to like pop music, but there's pop music I like too. So I mean, I just like music. If it's catchy, I'll enjoy it.
I'm the
Like
same way.
there has to be a level. Like it can't be like completely disposable. Like I don't like a lot of the boy band pop singers from like the late 2000s. Like I don't like Bieber or any of those other people. That never appealed to me. But I'll be damned if I didn't think some of the Backstreet Boys and Instinct stuff was catchy. I thought Pink was really good. I thought Michelle Branch was good. Lady Gaga was pretty cool. Kelly Clarkson was good for 2 albums. But yeah, new wave stuff, like I got really into Duran Duran. I like the Chameleons, which that's kind of like in that synth pop post punk area. Um Modern English is cool. Tears for Fears is cool. Yeah, just a bunch of bands like that. I vibe with it. Like I like keyboards, so give it to me.
Nice. Nice. I didn't know that about you. I knew you knew like some old 80s stuff. I didn't know you were into like that other kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. And it also took me really, really way too long to like Michael Jackson. But now I do. He's awesome. Well, musically, he's awesome.
Gotta love the King of Pop. Uh, I also wanted to ask, you were talking about punk was a genre that you were all kind of like, eh, about, but are there any punk bands that you could honestly say that you actually genuinely enjoy and go back to?
Bad Religion.
Oh,
Yeah, Bad Religion. I like The Offspring pre-Splinter.
mhm.
Um, trying to think of like I'm trying not to name pop punk bands. Because those I could name a bunch of them, but proper punk bands. What I've heard of Pennywise is cool.
Mhm.
Um, I'm drawing a blank. A lot of the old school ones I'm not really a big fan of. Like I don't like the Clash. I don't like the Ramones. I don't like Sex Pistols. Those don't appeal to me. Um, oh, and he's not really punk. He's always associated with punk because of his look. Big Billy Idol fan. Love him. But yeah, those are the only two that are like popping up in my head are Bad Religion and The Offspring.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to like exploring the genre more. It's just that like the few times I've tried with certain bands, like I kind of like I hit a wall, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna go listen to the stuff I like.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, I think some of the people in the fan base of punk can be pretty kind of assholeish, I'll admit.
I've infiltrated worse genres. I infiltrated black metal. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Black metal. Uh, Speaking of black metal, are there any black metal bands that you've seen live?
Unfortunately, not that many. Um, I saw one I'm not supposed to talk about. But at this point, I can't even remember what he did. He probably had something to do with Nazis. That's what most of them get in trouble for. But I saw Inquisition. That's the questionable one. I saw Karash Angren. I saw the ones that people don't like to call black metal. I saw Cradle of Filth and Dimmy Borgir. I've seen Behemoth. I saw Dark Fortress. Who else have I seen? Satyricon I've seen. And that might be it. I wish Graveworm would come to America. And I really wish I had gone to see Immortal. They're like one of my 3 favorite black metal bands. Maybe one day. Same with Carpathian Forest.
Yeah. Is there an example of a band you like, but you separate the art from the artist? I know we're kind of getting into different territory now, but like you like
I almost feel like I have to do it nowadays with Manson, which is unfortunate.
yeah.
But well, innocent until proven guilty. But I'm trying to think. Lost Prophets was never an issue because I never really cared for Lost Prophets, so that's not one. Same with As I Lay Dying. Burzum. I like Burzum. That dude is a nut job though.
Yeah.
But I think musically they're super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the catalog of that band, or band in quotation marks, is a lot more diverse than people would probably think.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's experimental a lot over the place. They were also one of the few and earliest examples of a raw black metal band using keyboards, and it made their music super eerie, and far more listenable than Darkthrone. But yeah, Burzum's probably the big one there. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's the one I'm gonna go with. Like I can't think of anybody else who I'm like super bothered by. Where like, but if it's things that are like speculated about them, but like haven't been proven, like the Michael Jackson thing was never proven, so
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. Going back to Burzum, like was the dungeon synth era Burzum sort of an influence on the Backwards Funeral?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I was influenced by, because he has one particular album that I can't pronounce because it's not in English. It starts with an H. It's like Hiv something. That album is wonderful, and like listening to that a lot. Yeah, the main influences for the Backwards Funeral were that album, Mortis's Crypt of the Wizard, Lunar Wombs, The Sleeping Green, and a lot of the smaller projects that I was seeing at the time who have like risen up, like Orang. Orang was tiny when I started doing it, and now he's probably the most popular artist in the genre outside of like Mortis and Burzum. Like they're like their own level. And yeah, there's a few other ones like Depressive Silence, very good. Like very good at building atmospheres. And then there's a few that like I heard that like a lot of them don't use like drums, which is interesting, but I like using percussion, so I incorporated a lot of that into my stuff. But there were a few where I heard like these really rickety sounding, like it sounded like wartime like drums of just like beating on the snare. And I thought that was interesting. And that is an influence on certain songs as well. But yeah, I just tried to make like medieval style atmospheres and what I was doing. And yeah, I took pieces from all those.
Yeah, very good answer. I always was wondering about that.
And I also took influence from like non-Dungeons and bands too. Like a lot of black metal bands I listen to have like symphonic elements and stuff, and I took
Mhm.
stuff from that. Or even video game soundtracks.
Yes.
Like I love them Final Fantasy soundtracks. They're delicious.
uh, yeah. Will you ever consider releasing any of your music onto vinyl or CD?
CD maybe, I would say no to vinyl. Um it would I'm one of those people who very much like the only reason something should be put on vinyl is if it was built to be put on vinyl. Like people taking albums that came out on CD in the early 2000s, like Limp Bizkit getting a vinyl release doesn't need to exist. Like it wasn't built for that medium. Whereas like the early Black Sabbath albums were built for vinyl, so they sound right.
Mhm.
It's like it's like trying to take a PlayStation game and stuff it on a Nintendo cartridge. It's not meant to work that way. Um, but yeah, I would be interested down the road if I was putting out either a compilation, which is what 613 Days was supposed to be, or a new release, like a full-fledged new release. I would consider doing a CD or cassette release because I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
And even if it's sold, even if I made 20 copies and sold, like as long as I get to have one, like I have a Backwards Funeral shirt. I
Oh, really?
made one, and that's the only one that exists, and I own it. But yeah, so but I wanted to see, like, because it was the same company who did the buttons, and I was like that wasn't too expensive, and then I was looking at what else they had, and they had uh the shirts, and I was like I wonder, I was like I'm gonna do one, I just want to see what it looks like, and I was like it probably won't be that great a quality, and I got it, it's very good quality. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, cool. So now I have a shirt of Backwards Funeral. They're doing a Dungeon Synth festival in March up in Mass. I
Mhm.
might go, and if I go, I might wear the Backwards Funeral shirt.
Right on.
People are like, "Who the hell's that?" I'm like, this is a very obscure band. You should go check them out.
The kids don't know that one yet.
Yeah. Oh, I
Uh,
should. If I do that, I should bring the buttons or the pins. Like, here, have this. It's free.
you should.
I might consider it.
Would you ever?
I'm sure they would let me in with them.
Yeah. Mhm. Would you ever one day with one of your bands ever perform live?
I would like to. I almost performed live with Backwards Funeral, actually.
Really?
I was asked. It would have been a weird situation because at first I wanted to do it live proper because they do that Dungeons and Festival every year,
Mhm.
and I had asked them when I was interested, and they said we're all booked up this year, but talk to us next year and talk to us after this festival like that's approaching, and we'll have a conversation about next year. I was like, okay, and then COVID happened. But then during COVID, they actually came to me and asked me if I wanted to do it. But they weren't doing a in venue performance. They were having everyone stream performances, and they had like a big Twitch feed thing. And so we were all going to be in our own area. Like I would have done it from like my apartment or something like that and streamed it. And they
Yeah.
asked me about that, and I got super nervous and said I couldn't do it.
Aw.
I was like, because I was trying to think, I was like, how do I was like, I know I was like upping myself before, but I was like, a lot of this stuff I just programmed. How am I going to do this live? Okay. But at the same time, I've had friends of mine who are also musicians who I've like offhanded mentioned that to, and they're like, dude, if you ever do that, tell us, we will come, like we'll do something with you, because because yes, I would be like stuck behind the keyboards and whatever, and there's no vocals, but like my drummer friend was like, dude, I'll play like bongos and shit, I don't give a shit. It's like and like so they're like yeah, we'll help you if you want. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I will remember that for the future. I even bought a I don't know where it is currently, but I bought a strobe light for it, because I was gonna turn all the lights off, and I was gonna like douse my keyboard area in like red light or something like that, or have it change and stuff like that. I have a cloak that is over there that I was gonna wear, that I have never used for anything. It's just sitting over there hanging on my coat rack. One day.
One day
even if
that'll
I
be
just
cool.
even if I just make a music video for the Backwards funeral, like I might want to do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I wear my spooky cape. I'll be fun.
I know I was talking about vinyl earlier, but do you have a big vinyl collection?
The not really. So I have a vinyl collection, but like the DVD collection I inherited from my dad, the
Mhm.
vinyl collection I inherited from my mom. So it's full of old stuff, and the Wizard of Oz soundtrack, um because that was her favorite movie, and some like it's a lot of there's a lot of Christmas music, and a lot of like old pop music, like the Beatles and Billy Joel, and but then there's weird ones like Aqualung from Jethro Tull, and Queen's News of the World, and the Alice Cooper ones I mentioned, and Pink Floyd's The Wall is in there. And then on top of that, I was given a gift when I was moving out of my last gift. I was given vinyl as I was moving out of my last house, where the my roommate's girlfriend was given a vinyl and she didn't want it, so she gave it to me, and it's the Metallica S&M live symphony album. So I
Mhm.
have that on vinyl. I don't have a record player though, so that kind of caused a problem.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the extent of my my vinyl collection. I do have a pretty hardy book collection though.
What kind of books do you read?
So I'm very split. I have a lot of like not proper novels. Like I have a lot of Stephen King, and I have a lot of Dean Koontz and stuff like that. I have a lot of music biography books, like a lot, way more than I needed. But it's
Mhm.
how I got into a bunch of different bands and stuff. Like I got I got into death metal by reading about it, and
Mhm.
then wanting to know what the bands sounded like that I was reading about. So I got the choosing death book that was done by Albert Mudrian, who's the guy who writes Decibel. Um and it was a really good book, and while reading it, I was like, I don't know who these bands are. I was like, I suppose as I'm reading this book, I should probably check out who these bands are. And then did, and I was like, oh, I'm into this. And I kind of did the same thing with black metal, where like I knew Cradle, I knew Dimmu, but like the other ones, I was like, oh, didn't really know these bands. Okay. And now I'm learning about them and all their horrible past histories of murdering people and burning churches. That's very cool, very cool. Um
Beautiful stuff.
but yeah, and then I got like random I have random like sports biography books. I have a few wrestling biography books. Like I have a Mick Foley book, a Chris Jericho book. I have one of the Rocks books. I have all the Resident Evil novels from paperbacks before they had the movies out.
Mhm.
Uh Trying to see what else I have. That's kind of it. But yeah, like yeah, genre books, album books, um sports, horror, and I have a three three series set of Fringe books that I've never read, that maybe one day I'll read them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Would
used
you?
to.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I used to like because my dad was a heavy reader. That dude would go through a book in like 3 days. Um, so he used to have a really crazy book collection. So I would take books from his collection and read them. So that was how I read like most of Stephen King's catalog. And I did a book report on Jaws once.
Mhm.
That was crazy book. But yeah, that was my exposure to books.
Nice. Yeah, I like reading autobiographies as well. I've got a couple. I need to show them in a video one day.
Do it.
Um, yes. Now, would you ever sort of write a book on like new metal or music yourself?
No, because there's already people doing it. Um, there was a window of time where, and then that ended up getting done, where it wouldn't have been about new metal. But I had flirted with the idea of doing a doom metal book at one point.
Hmm.
When I was writing for the website, which I've actually taken up again, and there will be reviews soon. But yeah, when I was heavy duty into reviewing for the site and getting into the genre, there wasn't much information out there about a lot of the bands. So I had an interest, and I was like, I could probably put something together. And then I did a little bit of research, very little. And I had like 8 or 9 scatterbrain pages of stuff, and then like a whole like 20-30 pages of notes. And then like I just kind of stopped. Like I lost interest in the pursuit. And then but then people better than me came along and wrote like 2 or 3 doom metal books, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I will just buy your books, and there we go. I did it. But no, the what's that guy's name? There's a Matt something who just released a new metal book. He promotes it on the new metal Reddit sometimes. I think his last name starts with a K, but I could be wrong. And my arch nemesis Holiday Kirk is writing a new metal book. And I'm not sure when that comes out. But he might be on a future Talk episode because I thought it would be funny. And I put it out there into the world, and I was like, it'd be a really big swerve if I put Holiday Kirk on a Talk episode, who I've bashed several times. And he liked it, and then we messaged back and forth, and he agreed to do it. And I went, shit. All right, well, I gotta write a script for that. So, some point. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's one I've been talking to. I'm trying to get the New Breed guys on. I'd like to do them separate, but if they would rather do it together, that's fine. The guy who runs the new metal subreddit, Sean, I'm in talks with him. And I would like to get Melomano Addicto, who I have on Discord, so I can just ask him. And then if I can get Melomano, maybe I can get Hazsub. Like, I think they'd be interesting conversations.
Have you ever thought about actually getting any actual musicians to be on the Talk?
Yes, I was I had a list at one point, which I don't think it's still. Oh, it is still around. Hold up. Oh, piece of paper. Yeah, I had made the decision that like I was like, if I ever got far enough where I started doing this on a regular basis, and I started getting enough of a reach, and people cared, I wanted to get the drag pipe vocalist who I have on Facebook. I could ask him. I wanted to get him. I wanted to talk to Drew from Reveille. I wanted to talk to Nick from Lifer, and I would like to talk to one of the Darwin's waiting room guys, if possible. Like, I think those would be super interesting, and he's probably out of reach. But Pete from Ultraspank would be cool. But yeah, I would very much be like, okay, I'm gonna stay in the lower echelon of bands. And there's probably a bunch of like underground bands I could, if I really did digging, I could probably get some of them to agree to do an interview or something like that. But Who knows? We'll see what happens in 2023
We shall.
when my channel doesn't die, but slowly puts out stuff. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get a message the first time I post a video in 2023. They're like, you said you weren't going to do any more videos. I'm like, shut up, Music Bike. I gave you 500 albums. Leave me alone. I do what I want. It's my channel. I can say I'm not going to do anything and then do stuff. And then I lied. Haha, fooled you. But yeah, the whole full album thing is definitely coming to a head. I'm good. Although
Yeah.
I do have some albums on the way. So if I get a hold of those and I look and none of them are on YouTube, maybe I'll put them up because I still want people to hear stuff that they don't currently have available to them. Like that's the whole point.
Mhm.
But like keeping up with doing underground digs, I'll let the other people do that. They can have fun with it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up with a couple more questions and then kind of end it because this has been going quite a while. But I thank you so much for your patience.
Absolutely fine. And I get to go to bed after this. That's exciting.
Yeah. All right. So if you would you ever be interested in making a animated series based on the Doug Shorts character?
That would be awesome. It would have to be done right and it would have to be absolutely bananas. God. If some crazy fool out there is watching this and you have a bunch of money, give it to me and I will make this. It'll be awesome. I really wish like money wasn't what it was and that I could just like you could just go do things within reason. Like cuz I would love to do something like that. I would love like I'd love to like have like the little saga things I've done on the channel like that are very low quality. Like I would love to fully flesh something out and have the time to do it, write a script, stuff like that. Like that'd be super interesting. I have enough friends, like I have friends I have a friend Mike who's like an extra in a crap ton of movies and TV shows. Like so I have like actor friends. Like I could
Mhm.
get them to do stuff with me. And I have other friends who are really good at like visual stuff. Like I have video editor friends who worked one of them did graphic design for ESPN at one point.
Huh.
So like I have people I could call upon, but I would just need time and money. But I would love to do it because I love being creative and also being crazy. It's fun for me.
Mhm.
And making other people suffer through my crazy things. Like you will watch this thing. You will like it. I don't like
Yeah.
it. You will like it.
You'll see what Doug Shorts does in the next episode,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Oh, best thing ever.
All right. One of the last questions I wanted to ask that you mentioned that pre-YouTube you used to make these. It's true that you made these websites at one point dedicated to like new metal underground stuff.
Yeah. Um this was talked about in a video that is no longer on my channel for reasons. But yeah, I had a God, I couldn't even tell you what year it was. I was still at ShopRite, so it would have been 2004, 2005. I had a MySpace page called the New Metal Tribute page, and it had something like I can't remember. The friends list was like 2,000 people or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I would just it was back when you with MySpace you could code and like make uh basically you could have a box of text area and you could have like crazy backgrounds and stuff like that, and moving objects and stuff. Like you could basically turn your MySpace page into a web page.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would do is early on, like this is still like archaic John knowledge. Like I didn't know that much about the underground at that time. Like me finding out about Fear the Clown like blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Or Porcelain Fishbowl. I'm like, this is as underground as it gets. Cut to Santiago being like, this band has like 3 listeners on Last FM. I'm like, how did you even find this? But yeah, so like I spent a lot of time making using the side text block and like filling it out with like a giant list of bands, and then like having like sub areas where it was like a link to like, here's a web page, here's a YouTube video, here's the Last FM page, I guess, or stuff like that. And like, yeah, so I had a list of like a couple, at that time it was probably like maybe 150 bands, which at the
Mm-hmm.
time is pretty good. Now the list where I'm working on is like close to 900, which is absolutely crazy. And but I had a bunch of people who would regularly like send me stuff that I'd never heard of before, or I would I wrote reviews that are lost to time, and probably for better. My review writing skills were not up to snuff yet. And then I would you could also have music playing on the channel, so you could, I think the player was like a max of 6, so I would regularly interchange out like rare new metal songs, and then post them up there. And that was how, and so this was me very early on, like trying really hard to like push these underground bands who probably by this point in time are gone, but like just trying to get the word out there. And I did that for 2000 till 2000 like 8 or 9, when like MySpace screwed up and like deleted everyone's they did a big overhaul, and like all the coding got erased, and they basically made it where people couldn't do that on the MySpace pages anymore, which makes no sense. They were trying to do some sort of minimizing thing or minimalistic thing, and it backfired badly because everyone just went to Facebook. And so yeah, so that was like the death knell for that. And from there I started floating around to different forums. I was in New Metal Nebula, and then New Sick, which was very short-lived, and I wrote reviews for that page. And this was around the time I discovered Hazsub and New Metal Descargas, and I was friends with Matando Guerreros, who's a big trader now. And so I was around when all these people were doing this stuff. And then, but I never, the closest I came was from 2000, I'd have to look up the exact dates, from 2009 to like 2013, I think. I released a series of new metal compilations that are, you can still find the Blogspot page, it still exists. And I was trying to spread around these obscure, I mixed in mainstream new metal bands, but obscure tracks from them and obscure bands, like to try and basically avoid me getting like attacked by like a label. So I would like, if I did Linkin Park, I would do like a demo or like a rare outtake from like pre-Hybrid Theory. But I would also like sprinkle it in with like a Factory A1 demo or one of the unreleased Darwin's Waiting Room tracks, or something of that ilk. And yeah, so it was called While You Were Sleeping, and I put out 15 volumes of it. And at the time of the channel stopping doing what it was doing, because I got tired of paying for the hosting server, like, because I would put the downloads up on like it was SendSpace for a little while. It was SendSpace for the most part, and then I think it was Mediafire. But my download totals, like volume 1 of that series, I still see it pop up on SoulSeek, volume 1 of that series had 2,000 or 3,000 downloads or something like that. And like each one, like it went down a little bit with each one, but like even the last volume had like a couple thousand. Like, so like I was doing what I wanted. I wasn't getting paid for it, but I was pushing, like I was like, this is what I want to do. I wanted to do promo work. I was in my head, I was doing what the labels at the time weren't doing and trying to, like, way after the expiration date, but I was trying to push these bands. I was being a one-man street team for a bunch of dead bands. It was fun. But yeah, then I kind of fell out of that. And then from there, I guess I started just doing the YouTube thing, and then that fell into where I am now. And that's the history of John.
That's really cool. And I guess the final question I have, do you have any Slipknot?
You son of a bitch. Why, yes, I do. I do have Slipknot. I have 3 albums? 2 albums. No, I have volume 3. Okay, so I have 3 albums. But yeah. No Slipknot. That was great. Best day. That joke lasted with Maya, who you would know on YouTube as Olaf. That joke lasted in his repertoire for months. They just randomly write on people's page, do you have any Slipknot? It's like, god damn it. That one guy.
Yeah.
I guess I can firmly admit this now because it doesn't matter. The guy who asked me if I had any Slipknot was like super. He's like, do you have any unreleased Slipknot shows? Do you have any rare shows? So I was like, I'm gonna get this guy. He doesn't know what's up. So I took I can't remember what song it was. It might have been Liberate. And I took a bootleg of Liberate and it was a crap quality recording. And I took it from a different show, and I took it into my audio editing program, and I spliced it a bit and changed up some of the, like, clipped some of the sections and changed the sound a bunch. And then, like, basically made it sound shittier, like lower quality. Like I put like reverb and shit on it, and like, so I spliced it enough to where I thought I was like, and then I listed it as a different show. Like I put in my time, like I went through Setlist FM and I found the tour like trek for that year, and I went through YouTube and I was like, all right, what doesn't exist here yet? And I was like, they haven't done one for Chicago, but they played in Chicago. I was like, all right. So I listed it as being in Chicago, and I was like, yeah, I found this rare thing. It's crazy. It's blah, blah, blah. Within 2 minutes, this guy commented on my video. He said, oh, you got lied to, man. This is from this other show. And like,
Omaha.
to the exact thing. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Because the video I took from the song, it wasn't something he had on his page. It wasn't, because I checked what his bootlegs were and I was trying to go around it. But I was like, that motherfucker. All right, I got outdone there. I got it. Smarter than me. Yeah, that's my Slipknot story. It's a good story.
Yeah, I remember that video too.
Tried to trick him. Or I tried to trick him. And I was the fool.
Yeah.
Won't get fooled again, my ass.
All right. Well, that was it. That was the Q&A. Thank you so much for rambling on and having this however long conversation.
Nobody's here. They're all gone.
Where is our... Oh.
Yeah. No, it was super fun. This was great, and I'm super happy that you did this. Like I was like, if anybody's gonna do a follow-up Q&A, it's gonna be you. So I'm glad you did it.
Thank you. I had a lot of good questions to ask. So
yes, you did, and I appreciated answering them. And no one ever has to ask me a question again because they've all been answered now. Leave me alone, people. Ask me questions. I'm just kidding. If you guys want to ask me questions, ask them.
Okay.
But all right, that's gonna be it. Go sub to Anthony's channels, both of them, and the third one that's gonna exist eventually. Like, go sub to Anthony B. I want him to 1,000 subs, carries rarities, 5,000 subs. Freaking do it. Tired of this shit. I can stay at whatever level I'm at now. I don't care. So give everyone else the subs. They're young and spry. They've got a whole life ahead of them. A whole YouTube life. Let them live. But okay, that's it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.